Midlife Crisis Media has subscribed.
Midlife Crisis Media.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a story behind that username.
Hey everyone, Chris of Midlife Crisis Media here. Welcome to what is going to be quite a large, recent pickup stream. Why is my room backwards? Give me 1 second. Not sure what that was about. Somehow my camera got, or the little setting that reverses my camera got, switched on. Don't know how. It looks normal to you. It was reversed for me. Anyway, welcome. This is Recent Pickups 98. Can't believe I've done 98 of these. Let me adjust this real quick. Everything I've added to my physical media collection in not only March, where I did not do virtually any game hunting, buying movies or whatever, because I was prepping for something that happened in April, at the beginning of April. So this is March, April, and the Midwest Gaming Classic recent pickup stream. This is going to be super freaking long. Like I said, not a lot happened in March, so I decided to put off doing a recent pickups stream until I had stuff to actually talk about. Otherwise, that stream would have been probably 15 minutes long, because it was maybe a couple of movies and 2 games that I got that month. But like I said, I was setting aside money, not only saving my tax return for 2024, but putting money aside. I didn't want to have to spend any money frivolously in order to have stuff to spend at the con, which is something I look forward to all year. And that happened. So before actually, you know what? Let's just get into it because I got a lot of ground to cover. So we'll start off with the things that have nothing to do with the Midwest Gaming Classic. I'll save that stuff for dead last. So like I always do, we'll start with the non-gaming related things. We're talking about a few geeky books. Actually, I picked these up just before leaving for the Midwest Gaming Classic. So the Friday of the con, I had all year long, as I was buying 4K films for my collection, if I already had that movie on Blu-ray and I was upgrading to a 4K, I would set that Blu-ray aside into a stack and, prepare to get rid of it. Are my levels okay? It looks like it's peaking. Turn it down a little bit. I would set all the movies that I was replacing with 4Ks on Blu-ray, or replacing the Blu-rays with the 4Ks. I would set the Blu-rays aside and so I can sell them off at some point. What's up, Chum Nasty? Kinky books. Ooh. But we got Peter, we got TJ, we got Chum Nasty. This is awesome. So yeah, I've been saving these movies for about a year. And by the time the Midwest Gaming Classic rolled around, I had a those canvas grocery bags that you can buy to replace the plastic bags that you use at a grocery store. Well, I basically had that thing filled to overflowing, and I brought it to Half Price Books. As I left to go to stay at my friend's house for the Midwest Gaming Classic. I stopped there first. Took forever to sell this stuff, and I got quite a lot of money for it. And I found a couple of books while I was there, and I was just kind of do I really want to spend any of this money I'm going to be getting? I don't care. They were $2 each, sometimes not even. So you all know I'm a Star Trek fanboy. So I found not only the novelization of Star Trek Deep Space Nine's Way of the Warrior 2-part episode. This was the 2-part episode that starts off season 4, where they introduce Worf to the show. This is the novelization of that 2-parter. And also I found the novelization of the 2-hour finale of Deep Space Nine. This is the final episode novelization of What You Leave Behind. So I wanted to pick those up to add to my collection. And also I found another book in the Star Trek New Frontier series, Missing in Action. This is New Frontier is a series of books that was designed specifically for books. They're not based on anything show related. This is a brand new crew that was developed specifically for a series of novels. And I keep finding ones that I did not have. I did not realize there were so many past the ones I already owned. So every once in a while I see a new one at half price books that I've never seen before. So I picked this one up. When I'll get around to reading it, I don't know. Also, picked up, I'll move these over here, picked up some other stuff. Actually, it was like Friday, went to Half Price Books just for shits and giggles. I was like, well, you know what? Let's go see if there's anything there. I doubt there will be. And sure enough, when it came to movies, I found one thing that I could send off to my friend Mondane. But I went to the Dungeons and Dragons RPG section and I found some stuff. Found another book for Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition, and that is Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes. And it says, discover the truth about the great conflicts of the multiverse in this supplement for the world's greatest role-playing game. And it's basically just a ton of like enemies for you to fight to add into your game, which is something I desperately need right now for the D&D game that I'm currently running. So I had to pick this up. But the thing is, all of these books are available on the Dungeons & Dragons Beyond website where you can play Dungeons & Dragons. They have the digital editions of the books, and all of the information contained in those books you can add into your D&D campaign because you can actually play through the app, which is exactly what I do when I play my Dungeons & Dragons campaign. We use D&D Beyond to play. It even gives me a map feature in order to play when we do combat and all that. So the thing is, if you just want to go strictly digital, it's cheaper. But when it comes to like the physical stuff, buying the physical book gets you absolutely nothing on that website. So basically, if you want everything from this book in D&D Beyond, you have to buy the book again digitally. So all the information there is available to you to use for your campaign. Well, the thing is, I was like, I need new monsters for my campaign, you know, stuff to have my characters fight. I go to look this one up on D&D Beyond, and it turns out that this book is no longer available on D&D Beyond. So from what it sounds like, this has been like delisted, which is, I was wondering why this book was more expensive when I found it at Half Price Books. It was more expensive than any D&D book I found there yet. So I'm like, I was wondering why it was, but I needed it, so I bought it regardless of the price. Well, it turns out, it looks like I said, it's been delisted. Like it is not considered part of Dungeons and Dragons lore anymore. So I might have something that is kind of hard to find, which is kind of cool. Let's see. I had a copy of the Star Trek and X-Men novel at one point. It was a wild read because it was before X-Men movie came out. In the novel, they kept mentioning how Professor X looked like Picard. That's kind of funny. But like right next to where the D&D stuff was, I found some other stuff. I posted this on my Discord, but I found the core rule book for the Dune role-playing game, the Dune tabletop role-playing game. This is the modern edition of Dune, like from the movies that came out after the 2020s. You know, the two, we had Dune 1 and Dune 2. And as a huge fan of Dune and those films and that universe that it takes place in, I was like, yes, please. So picked that up. And they also had an add-on, another source book. This is the Sand and Dust Arrakis source book, Adventures in the Imperium. So this is just more information if I ever do intend to run a tabletop campaign in the Dune universe. I'm kind of set. That's pretty rad. Don't usually see stuff like this, like more modern day stuff outside of the Dungeons and Dragons stuff there. Every time I go to any Half Price Books, I usually find either modern day D&D stuff or like a ton of Mech Warrior books or Mutants and Masterminds and stuff that's like years, sometimes decades old. So to find something brand new like this shocked the hell out of me. So that's it for the books. Now we can get into the movies. So only have three Blu-rays to speak of. Actually, four, technically. 4 Blu-rays to talk about. But when it comes to movies, I got quite a lot of really rad stuff within the last 2 months. So I talk about this company all the time when I do these streams. Full Moon Features, or used to be Full Moon Entertainment when I was a kid in the early 90s. And they're slowly releasing their back catalog of movies that came out on their label when their label first had started in like 1990 through I think all of the 90s. They're slowly releasing their back catalog on Blu-ray. Like every year, Charles Band, who runs Full Moon and always has, will like make a post on social media being like, oh, we found the negative to so-and-so movie, so we can finally give you a Blu-ray edition. He has all of these things on hand. He's just parsing them out to make more money. Well, two of them came out at like pretty much at the exact same time. There was like within 3 weeks of each other, these two came out. So I ordered them immediately. One of which is called Bad Channels. Not one of my favorites of the Full Moon catalog. This is actually one that I never saw back in the day because none of the video stores that I used to go to where I would rent all the Full Moon stuff as it was coming out ever carried it, which is I thought was kind of strange. But this one is about a radio station out in the middle of nowhere that plays nothing but like rock music and punk music and stuff like that. And an alien invasion happens, and the alien takes over the radio station and hypnotizes women in the town to come to the radio station through the airwaves, so he can like capture, like he shrinks them down to like less than a foot tall and puts them in basically like an outer space Coke bottle to transport back to his planet because the women's are cool. And it's all right. It has one of the VJs from MTV back in the day, Martha. God, I can never remember her name. Martha something. Her name's on here and I can't read it because I'm basically blind. It's okay. I first saw this maybe like 2 or 3 years ago. And I was like, okay, well, I'm not kind of sad that I missed that back in the day. It's not my favorite, but this does feed into a following Full Moon film called Doll Man versus Demonic Toys, where one of the women that was shrunk down in this movie by the alien ends up being a love interest for Doll Man in that film. I did watch that one. They do kind of a recap of this, like within the space of a minute in Doll Man versus Demonic Toys, so I kind of knew what was going on in this film without having to see it, which is fine. The other one is the first movie they released as Full Moon, and that is Crash and Burn. This is the first one I remember renting. Puppet Master technically is the first, but I don't think it was under the Full Moon banner at that point. It was just on Paramount's banner. I think this is the first one that was like Full Moon, full on. And this is like a science fiction pot boiler. To me, it feels like a stage play. It's like a dystopian future. The government is like ruining the world. Wink. And these people who are like trying to rebel live or work in this power plant that's been converted into like a pirate television station. And turns out one of the people within the group that works for the TV station might be an undercover robot there to kill everybody. So it's like that whole The Thing, John Carpenter's The Thing's type of like Cold War paranoia thing going on. And then it ends up being pretty obvious who the robot is. And then once that robot is exposed, the person acting as or playing the robot goes full camp and just to start saying random shit and acting like a fool. But it does. The thing I remember from this movie back in the day is the advertisement has this giant robot all over it. And the robot is in the movie for a grand total of like 2 minutes. So it's kind of disappointing and kind of misleading, but it's still pretty fun. I mean, it's like a very low budget movie, and you can tell, but I mean, they do what you can. But it's also the movie that introduced me to Megan Ward, who was like in a bunch of Full Moon movies after this and kind of went on to be kind of big. She was in Encino Man. She was Sean Astin's like love interest in Encino Man. And then the final Blu-ray I have is there's one more. Sorry. This Blu-ray is a double pack I got from a sale that Criterion Collection was having on their website. It was like everything was like 60% off or something. They do it like once or twice a year. So I was just kind of like, all right, let's go and see what they have. So I bought this double pack of Jackie Chan films. It's Police Story 1 and Police Story 2. I do already have Police Story 3 on 4K, which is awesome. But these are more serious Jackie Chan movies. He's a cop, and usually he gets caught up in some like drug thing or some like criminal smuggling thing, and then crazy stunts ensue. One of them has him being dragged by a double-decker bus at one point. The second movie, he like jumps off of a railing on the top floor of a mall and jumps like down 3 floors and crashes into like the roof of like a stall or something. It is absolutely nuts. Like Jackie Chan is crazy, but these movies are fantastic. So I had to get that. I just need part 4, which is called First Strike here in the US. And then the last Blu-ray thing I got is a TV complete set series, or complete series set. I can't talk. And it is Star Trek Lower Decks, the complete series. So this is the animated Star Trek series, which I did not think in a million years I would ever like. When I saw like when they first announced it, they showed some characters, like the character designs, and I was like, why does everybody look like they're in a freaking Family Guy show? I hate Family Guy. This is going to suck. And I was like, and plus Star Trek, like sitcom-y kind of thing just did not sit well with me. I was like, an animated show, fine. The animated series from the 70s, whatever. But like a sitcom, like, no. It started getting broadcast on Paramount Plus. I like didn't watch it right away, but when I finally did, I was like, you know what? It's actually kind of entertaining. And it kind of grew on me. And then like it only lasted for 5 seasons before they canceled it. I don't know why it got canceled. It seemed to be pretty popular with the fans. So they're actually trying to get it to like Netflix to pick it up like they did when Prodigy got canceled, which is another Star Trek show that was on Paramount Plus. But it's a really funny show. The actors that they cast as everybody's great. You got Tawny Newsome here. You got Jack freaking Quaid playing Boimler. Noel Wells from SNL plays Tendi here. And I can't remember who plays Rutherford. I can't remember his name. But it has a lot of like actors from Star Trek, past and present in it at some point. Like Riker's in it. I think the only person that doesn't show up are like original crew cast members. And some of the, I want to say like Picard never shows up. I don't remember, but like people from Voyager, Deep Space Nine, all of them show up at some point, which is pretty rad. And it ends up being a pretty good show. It's not only trying to be funny, but it actually is telling really cool Star Trek, stories. Yeah, Bad Channels. Yeah, wow. Pretty sure you know the roof scene you're talking about. Yeah, he like is like perched on a rail over like I think it's like 3 stories beneath him, and he does this like wow. And then like he like barks like a dog for some reason, and then he like jumps, slides down a pole, goes through all these strings of like Christmas lights, and then lets go at one point and just falls through the roof of like a stall. It's crazy. Wasn't enough Riker leg lifts. That's why I got canceled. Yep. Well, although in the second season of Strange New Worlds, when they did the crossover between Lower Decks and Strange New Worlds, when Jack Quaid comes into real life, and he sees that saddle in Pike's office, he like lifts his leg over and goes, Riker! Which cracks me up every time I see it. Now we can get into the 4Ks, and this is where I have a ton. I'm going to have to put this over here. You can kind of see the stack I'm working with. Okay, so I upgraded a lot to 4K. We'll start off with Time Cop. Probably my second favorite Van Damme movie. My first favorite is, definitely Bloodsport. This is definitely a close second. Saw this in the theater, didn't realize it was based on a comic book from Dark Horse. But it's a lot of fun. The rules for time travel in it are kind of like, but I do like the whole idea of the same matter can't occupy the same space, where if you go into the past and you come across your past self, you cannot touch, otherwise bad things happen. And they kind of hint at that throughout the whole movie. And then when it finally does happen, it's like, wow. But really fun, really well made, like sci-fi action martial arts movie. Upgraded my copy of The Hunt, which came out just as COVID hit in 2020. This came out in theaters, and I want to say the next week, everything shut down. And I had plans to go and see it. And this one's kind of funny and topical. They don't flat out say it in the movie, but it's about Democrats versus Republicans. And a bunch of crazy Democrats, like far left Democrats, kidnap a bunch of far right Republicans, let them loose in a field, give them a bunch of weapons, and then the Democrats hunt them down. Well, one of the people that gets kidnapped kind of has other ideas, and it's actually really, really funny. It's like a satire, dark comedy kind of thing, and I love it. Next up, we have Upgraded Sneakers, which I think is a fantastic like comedy thriller, I guess. Has a great cast, as you can already see. You got Robert Redford, Dan Aykroyd, Ben Kingsley, before he was Sir Ben Kingsley, Mary McDonnell, who ended up being huge on Battlestar Galactica, River Phoenix, I think this was his last movie, Sidney Poitier and David Strathairn before he was like a name. My God, that's Jason Bourne. It's like a techno thriller, but it's also a comedy, and I really, really like it. R.I.P. Phoenix. Yep, he's great in this. He is really funny. Yeah, it's like not kind of spy stuff, kind of like a thief, like a caper movie, but it's really, really, it's got like a really good sense of humor. I love this movie. Every time I bring it up to my brother when we start talking films and I bring up Sneakers, he goes like, "Oh God, I gotta watch that again." Like, it is so good. I highly recommend checking it out. Realized that I didn't have a copy of this in 4K, and I was like, how do I not? Well, I ended up sleeping on it, and I ended up picking up a copy of Blade Runner. This is the final cut. I do believe this has a couple of the cuts on it. There's like 4 cuts of this flick. Let's see, the futuristic 4K, the final cut of the influential, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I think this actually just has the final cut on it, which is definitely the best version, I'll say. There's the theatrical cut, the international cut, the director's cut, and then the final cut. How they find the building in Sneakers. The hunt looks good. Yeah, the hunt's awesome. Really like how they find the building in Sneakers. You mean the one where they're keeping the black box that they're looking for, and they're like, it's been a while. This is definitely the best version. Ridley Scott, he always has his movies taken away from him. If you know his history, pretty much every movie he's ever made, he's promised final cut, and then it gets taken away from him in the editing room, and he ends up releasing like a director's cut later. Every single movie he releases nowadays, the same thing is still happening to him. So he finally got enough money to actually like complete the movie the way he wanted it done. And this came out like in 2007 or 8. And when I saw it, it's pretty cool. Even though they reshot the scene where Harrison Ford is chasing that replicant stripper through the streets of LA, and he like shoots her in the back when she goes flying through those plate glass windows, right? Well, all this stuff was done like 30 years after the movie was made. So they basically got the same actress back, who's 30 years older and definitely looks it, to recreate that scene of her crashing through the windows, because it always looked like a dude in a wig. And I'm like, wow, they didn't even try to cover it up, the fact that she looks old as hell. I'm like, okay, whatever. It still is a way better version of the movie. Oh yeah, from the trunk, right? The blind dude. Yes, he's listening to the sounds. He's like, okay, I can hear the bridge. I hear a tea party, and it's the ducks. Yeah, I remember that now. Yeah, why did I forget about that? That's actually a pretty cool scene. Also, the scene where they're using the Scrabble pieces to unscramble that note. Didn't have this on Blu-ray. I think I had it on DVD. I never had the Blu-ray of it. I don't even know if there was a Blu-ray released of it, but I picked up a 4K of The Faculty. Robert Rodriguez released this on Christmas frickin' Day back in like 98, I want to say 99 maybe. I remember I saw it on Christmas Day with my brother. But it's like if you were to take an alien invasion movie and then give it the Scream treatment, where it's kind of like self-referential. Has a really good cast. It was like Josh Hartnett, Elijah Wood, Jordana Brewster. I know they show Usher here. Usher is barely in the movie, but it also, like, for the teachers that are, the evil, Famke Janssen, Robert Patrick, Jon Stewart's in it. It's actually really, really good. It has a pretty cool twist ending. I like it a lot. Bebe Neuwirth is the principal. Piper Laurie from Carrie, the mother from Carrie's in it. I need to watch this again. I probably have not seen this in like 20 years, I want to say. Also, another one that slipped me by from Shout Factory or Scream Factory is The Holdovers. Not what you would normally see me talking about in these streams. I'm usually all sci-fi, action, horror. But this was my favorite movie of 2023. I watched it like, I think January 1st, 2024. And then I was like, nope, this is my number one. It was like for free on Peacock or something. And I watched it. It's Paul Giamatti, Divine Joy Randolph, who I think was nominated for an Oscar. I don't know if she won. Dominic Sessa, who's actually in the new, I just saw him in the trailer for the third Now You See Me movie. And it's like a prep school in the 70s and like Christmas hits. And, everybody goes home for Christmas while this one teacher who's kind of an asshole stays behind to watch the people who could not go home. And it's basically like him, this one asshole kid who he kind of ends up bonding with, the lunch lady that works in the cafeteria. and like they all kind of become this like real tight family unit over this Christmas holiday. It's actually a really, really good movie. It's funny. It's got great drama. Acting is fantastic. Not the usual thing for me, but I loved it. I was just like, I wish I kind of saw that one in the theater. Let's see here real quick. Also went to the, what's their name? Shit, what's their name? God damn it. My God, I can't even read it. It is so dark. It doesn't look dark in here. It is super dark in here. It's Second Sight. Second Sight is a British film boutique company. You know, when a major film distribution company doesn't want to bother with the effort of putting one of their catalog films on home media, these companies step in, license it, release like a special edition of it, make their money, and then the license expires and they're good. I went to one of their webs. I went to this Second Sight website because it had been a while since I've checked out anything that they've released, and I missed quite a bit. And I was kind of mad because they have like the limited editions with the big boxes that come with all the extra stuff. I missed out on them for a bunch of movies that I love. I managed to get one of them, but what's up, J-Chip? How's it going? Welcome. I managed to get the ones. I'm glad they were still available just in standalone copies. I mean, I can live without getting the special editions, but if I would have missed out on the movies themselves, I would have been kind of pissed. But I snagged a copy of Green Room, which is, I don't know if you've ever seen this, you know. So it's like a horror thriller about a punk band who gets hired to play at a club. Turns out the club is run by neo-Nazis, and the band pisses them off. And they end up getting hunted by the neo-Nazis. And it has one of the most graphically gross scenes I've ever seen in a movie. That still, just thinking about it right now, is kind of like grossing me out. Just thinking about it is disgusting. So it turns into like this fight for survival. Well, the cool thing about this is the guy who plays the leader of the neo-Nazis is fucking Patrick Stewart. Captain Picard. And man, can that guy play evil if he wants to. He is so good in this. The person on the cover here is actually Anton Yelchin, who plays Chekhov in the J.J. Abrams Star Trek movies. He's the lead guitarist for the band. And it is really, really good. Is it up there with Terrifier movies? It's not like consistently like the way Terrifier is. Like every kill is like an event kind of thing. There's just one scene where I think they just wanted to shock you with how violent things can get and to set the situation. Like, so the characters that are trying to survive, like, see how bad things can be. And it like literally, it grossed me out so much. And yeah, like I said, just thinking about it right now is kind of grossing me out. But it's just that one scene. The movie itself is kind of gory, but that one scene kind of goes for it. Really good movie. I love it. It is so good. Also, ended up buying this again on 4K. I already had a 4K of it, but I repurchased it because the 4K that I originally had was from Scream Factory, and they usually do a pretty good job when it comes to remastering their films. Well, from what it turns out, it was just like if they took the Blu-ray upgrade, like they had licensed it and made a Blu-ray for it. And I had the Blu-ray of it too, and I upgraded their version of 4K. It was just an upgraded Blu-ray, what their 4K release was. And it turns out Second Sight actually had gotten together with the film's director and made a brand new 4K scan. So it's supposed to more closely resemble what the movie's supposed to look like, because apparently, even though I never watched that 4K that I bought, I still hadn't gotten around to it. It looks like absolute shit. So everyone says this is the better version. So I picked it up because I really like the movie, and it's Dog Soldiers. Neil Marshall directed this. He did The Descent. He did Doomsday. Hellboy, the reboot of Hellboy that they did like in 2018 or 19 or whatever. Directed a bunch of episodes of Game of Thrones. This was, I think, his first movie. It took him like 2 years to get this made. It's a werewolf movie about a bunch of Scottish soldiers like out on maneuvers in a forest, and they end up getting like picked off one by one by a pack of werewolves, and it is really, really good. A lot of recognizable faces. One of the guys who was on Rome, Scott McKidd, who was in Train Spotting, is in here. Sean Pertwee, who you probably saw in like Event Horizon. A lot of really recognizable people who are basically nobodies back then, but it's really, really good. So I had to pick that up. Also picked up High Tension, which is another like foreign horror movie. Like Dog Soldiers is from Scotland. This is from France. This is directed by Alexander Aja, who directed the remake of Piranha, Piranha in 3D. What else? Mirrors. I'm trying to think. He directed the remake of Hills Have Eyes that came out like in the 2000s. This was his first big movie, and it's in France. It's called Haute Tension, and this is one of those movies that I watched it. A friend of mine gave me like a copy that was subtitled. It was in French with English subtitles, and I watched it, and I was like, that was a piece of flaming shit. That was so bad. But my friend goes, now that you know what happens in it, go back and rewatch it, and you will be pleasantly surprised. And I begrudgingly did. And then I watched it a second time, and I was like, holy shit. How did I not see all these goddamn clues everywhere that tell you where that twist is coming from? Because I had a problem with the twist at the end of the movie. And then all of a sudden I start seeing all these clues, and I'm like, how did I not? I had no frame of reference. How would I have known? I'm just trying to find, I'm just watching the movie the first time I watched it. Didn't realize I needed to look for clues. And they're all there right in your face. And it's like, holy shit, this movie's freaking brilliant the way it set all this stuff up in advance without you even realizing it. So a couple of college girls go out to one of their family's homes in the middle of nowhere, like in, a rural area in France, to study for college. And while they're there, a madman shows up and kills all of her family, kidnaps one of the girls that was, up there studying. And the other one ends up like goes to chase after the person that has kidnapped her best friend to get her back. Turns out not everything's as it seems. If you know, you know. It is pretty awesome. I absolutely love it. And the girl who gets kidnapped by the killer, who is one of the two girls, is the freaking diva, Plava Laguna from The Fifth Element, the blue alien who sang opera. No joke. I was going to ask you if I've seen High Tension when you were talking about the gross scene. The quickie saw scene is crazy. Yep, I brought it back when it came out. Crazy movie. Yeah, like I said, I hated it when I first saw it. I was like, that twist makes no goddamn sense. And then, like I said, if my friend didn't say, now watch it again, and I was like saying to myself, I don't want to watch it again. I could not stand it, but I forced myself to, and I was like, holy crap. So good. The movie that brought me to the Second Sight website, which made me buy all this stuff, was mostly this, because I realized this is the only company releasing this on 4K. No one else has released it on 4K yet. And that is Late Night with the Devil. Came out last year, I want to say. I think last year. David Dastmalchian is in it. You've probably seen him in 500 freaking movies. Blade Runner 2049, The Suicide Squad, the one that James Gunn made. He was Polka Dot Man. Takes place in the 70s, and it's supposedly like this. It's this false... it's fake for a movie, but it's like trying to recreate a 1970s late night show broadcast where someone who is possessed by the devil, the possession comes out and crazy shit happens. And I like it quite a bit. I did think it was one of the better movies I saw last year. The only problem I had was the fact that this is supposed to be a show, like a broadcast, a television broadcast from the 70s, yet it still looks like it was shot with a 4K camera. If you really wanted to sell that, I would have bought some film stock from that era and try to shoot it with it to try to sell it even more. Because, like I said, it looks like 4K that had a couple of filters slapped on it to make it look like old film. It does not look like old film at all. It looks like 4K with a couple of static, filters on it. It's kind of dumb. But the movie itself is pretty cool. I like it quite a bit. It surprised the hell out of me. I thought it was just going to be like this gimmicky little thing. And it's like one of those things where I've seen Dastmalchian in a bunch of movies and stuff, and I think he's a good actor. Didn't realize how good he can be in a leading role for a change. Like, he's always a part of an ensemble, but in the lead, he is fantastic. So I highly recommend checking that one out. And then we can get into these. I had pre-ordered 2 movies from... I should probably talk about these first. The last 2 movies I got from Shout/Scream Factory. Didn't realize this one slipped me by. I don't know how, but it did. Usually I'm up on all of the Scream Factory / Shout Factory 4K releases, but this one just did not even realize it happened. I saw someone talking about it on one of my I think it was my Blue Sky feed, and I was just like, oh, I didn't even know that was out. We're talking Vampires, the John Carpenter's Vampires movie with James Woods. Not one of my favorite John Carpenter movies. Kind of like the February recent pickup stream, I picked up Ghosts of Mars, which was one of the last John Carpenter movies he made, or last movies John Carpenter made. Not one of my favorites either. Like toward the end of his career, his track record started to slip. Like I loved his stuff, and then he just kind of went like, eh. John Carpenter also was really trying to make every single movie he was making at that time into a Western somehow. So Ghost of Mars is a sci-fi Western. This is a horror Western. James Woods is a vampire hunter going after this like super vampire named Valak, who's trying to find this artifact that'll let him turn into a daywalker. So he and his crew go after him, and it's all right. I'm like, as much of a badass as they make Valak out to be in it. Well, number one, he's played by Thomas Ian Griffith, who is the bad guy in Karate Kid 3, who is not a great actor, if you ask me. And he's supposed to be like this super sexy, super powerful vampire who, whenever he tries to be sexy in the movie, kind of goes like, and it's like, no. And when he tries to be threatening, it's like, not threatened. And then he gets taken out in the most bullshit way possible in the end of the movie. Oh my God. Yeah, Ghost of Mars is definitely, I said that in my little review on Letterboxd for Ghost of Mars, that it's basically a sci-fi version of Assault on Precinct 13. Not my favorite. It's still very watchable, though. James Woods definitely putting his effort into it, because there's a documentary on there where he says, like, the reason I took the job was because no one offers me, like, action movie roles or stuff like this. So he's like, I'm always, like, screaming at somebody in some drama. He goes, but I never get to play, like, an action hero. And he goes, I wanted to do it. And he can tell he is so happy that he's doing that. You don't think you've seen Karate Kid 3? Yeah, it's basically a remake of the first one, if you ask me. It's all the same people come back. It's, Cobra Kai again. So bad. I'm not a fan of the third one. And then the last one from Scream Factory is one of my all-time favorite horror comedy, actually, and that is Night of the Creeps. If that does not sell you on this movie, I don't know what will. It's like two people at prom fighting zombies in college, in front of a sorority house fighting zombies. So it's like a mix of genres. It's like sci-fi, horror, and comedy. So there's like this alien experiment, which is like these slugs. It crashes on Earth near a college campus, gets loose. The slugs go into your mouth, turn you into a zombie while they incubate in your brain and like multiply. And then when there's no more room in there for the babies to grow, your head explodes and throws more of those slugs out. And then they go and just continue the cycle. And the entire college campus gets like infected with these things. And it's funny. When there's gross stuff happening, it's gross. When it's like sci-fi stuff, the sci-fi stuff is really well done. I absolutely love it. And Tom Atkins is in this, and he plays this police chief who has probably some of the greatest dialogue in the history of film. Like whenever somebody calls him on the phone or says, "Hey, detective," he just goes, "Thrill me." Or like at the end when the zombie assault starts on the sorority house, basically a bus full of frat members flipped over, everyone died, the slugs went into every single person, they all turn into zombies, and they come to the frat house, and the detective looks out the window of the sorority house and goes, "Ladies, your dates are here." And they go like, "But," and he goes, "They're dead." I absolutely recommend watching this if you have not seen it before. It is so goddamn good. It is so funny. I remember seeing the first two in the remake. Yeah, the third one is not great. There's a reason why they didn't go past. Well, they made the next Karate Kid, but it's it's the one where you're like, wow, Ralph Macchio actually does look like he's 35. And he's still supposed to be playing someone who's like right out of high school. Like, nope. Picked up a copy of Companion, which recently came out. I want to say it came out like in February. I think it came out for like Valentine's Day. and it already dropped on 4K. Skip seeing the theater. I wanted to see it. I had this on my list of movies I was most looking forward to in 2025, but I just could not get out to go and see it in the theater for some reason. So I ended up renting it on Amazon, and it's pretty fantastic. It's produced by the guy who directed Barbarian, which I loved, which has never come out on home video, which is bullshit. And it's about I don't want to ruin any of the surprises, a toxic relationship. It is really well done. And Sophie Thatcher here, who was on Yellow Jackets, I do believe, and was in Heretic, which was one of my favorite movies of last year. She knocks this shit out of the park. And Jack Quaid, again, in it. And they are both fantastic. Yeah, it's Jack Quaid and Sophie Thatcher. It is awesome. It's a pretty new movie. I don't want to talk too much about it to spoil things, but it's awesome. Let's see. I got a bunch of other movies from that Criterion sale where I picked up that Jackie Chan double pack. So I picked up some 4Ks. One of them was Kronos, which is Guillermo del Toro's first film. Didn't see this until early 2000s, I want to say. Maybe late 2000s. I think I rented it from Netflix when they were doing like the discs. And it's like a really strange take on a vampire film. Like this old man finds this like gold-looking medallion type of thing, and like spikes come out of it and like stick into his hand, and it injects him with something, and it's basically the vampirism virus. And he basically turns into a vampire, and his young granddaughter, who like loves him to death, is like really worried about what's happening to him, and she sees it happening, and it's like, it's interesting. It's really, really good. It's like a character study, like, you know, what happens when somebody that you love gets like super sick and you can't really do anything about it. It's really, really good. It is Spanish language. It is subtitled in English, but it is. I keep on getting like, my throat keeps on going dry. It's really interesting and really good. I saw the trailer for Weapons. Yep, the guy who directed Barbarian. Yeah, when I saw that he had a new movie coming out, I was like, I need to watch this trailer immediately. That looks creepy as hell. What else? Was it just those? Oh no, I also picked up a copy of Thief. I had talked about this, I think, in January's pickup stream. This is Michael Mann's first movie. Michael Mann created Miami Vice, the old TV show, and the movie that they made with Colin Farrell and Jamie Foxx. Directed Manhunter. Heat is probably his most well-known movie. They're making a sequel to that right now, or at least he is. I was talking about The Keep in that January stream, which was the movie he made after this. This is the movie that got him The Keep. It's like a crime movie with James Caan. I think he got an Oscar nomination for this. I have not seen this in probably 30 years, and I need to sit down and watch it again. But I remember it being really good. Also kind of weird. Michael Mann movies all are kind of weird. He has a thing about picking songs from really obscure bands and that are kind of weird and eerie for his movies, which is like, I think it's why I like him so much. Is like, you never know what you're going to get with his movies. But I also, from Criterion, I had pre-ordered this through Amazon, and that is Godzilla versus Biollante. This is Godzilla versus the evil plant. And it's weird to me that I can understand Criterion released the original Godzilla, like Gojira, the original first Godzilla movie ever made, the black and white one. They released that on 4K. I can understand that. That's like a classic. But like the one where Godzilla's up against the giant plant, I was like, what? I think this might be like a favorite amongst the series for people, which is why I got this treatment. But I am really curious to see what the transfer looks like and what the extras are. But it just, like, I saw this pop up on my Amazon feed of things I might like, and I was like, I gotta have that. I love Godzilla movies. Not one of my favorites, but maybe watching it again after 20 years will change my mind. I also had pre-ordered 2 movies from Arrow Video, which is another British boutique company, and they released 2 of my favorite movies on the same day. And I saw that when they first put them up for sale, I was like, I want them right now. Took 2 months for them to get to me, but whatever. One of which is The Long Kiss Goodnight. Actually, both of these movies are directed by Rennie Harlan. This is the movie, like, when it comes to like the holidays, people will watch Christmas Vacation. They'll watch Christmas Story. They'll watch White Christmas, stuff like that. If you want to be alternative about it, they'll watch Die Hard because Die Hard's a Christmas movie. This is the movie my family watches every holiday. It takes place during Christmas, and it's like a action spy movie where Gina Davis, who thinks that she's a mild-mannered school teacher who happens to have amnesia, finds out that the reason she has amnesia is she used to be a spy and somebody shot her in the head and she lost her memory, and all of that spy stuff comes flooding back, and she has to try to resolve what happened back in the day, like 8 years after she lost her memory. And it is really good. Samuel L. Jackson is in it. He plays like her partner, and he gets like some of the best lines in the history of film. Like we quote this in my family like you would not believe. That's a duck, not a dick. Stuff like that. Like Gina Davis, when she becomes the spy character again, like Sam Jackson had been shot in his chest and she had bandaged him up while he was unconscious. Well, he's just seen her after she changes her appearance to look more like what she'd look like as a spy. And he's just like staring at her, and she goes, "Oh, you're seeping like from the bandage." And he goes, "Huh?" And she goes, "Here, look at this." And she flashes him. And then as he goes like, "What?" Like to look at her tits, she rips the bandage off and he goes, "What the fuck?" And she goes, "Sorry, I had to distract you." Like a whole thing about deflowering virgins. You bite someone on the ear to distract them from the pain. And he goes, "What are you talking about?" I just punch him on the jaw and yell, "Pop goes the weasel." It's like stuff like that. "Baby, I ain't rich. I ain't good looking. And the last time I got blown, candy bars cost a nickel." Stuff like that. This movie is so awesome. I watched it the day it showed up, and it looks fantastic. The 4K transfer is awesome. It has a lot of extras on it, which I'm happy about. Some are like ported over from previous versions, but a lot of them are new. Absolutely thrilled that this came on 4K. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. The other one from Rennie Harlan that I got that came out the same day as that is Deep Blue Sea. And this is one of those limited edition versions. I don't know why they didn't do one for Long Kiss Goodnight. Maybe there wasn't enough material to warrant getting like a limited edition, but Deep Blue Sea got one. And this is another one of his that I really, really like. Like I keep on saying, I am deathly afraid of the ocean because of sharks. And yet I watch every freaking shark movie I can see. And I saw this in the theater twice. So yeah, it comes in a hard case that has like a slip. Like this is hard as hell. And you get the movie here, which has quite a decent amount of extras. But it also comes with a book, Aquatica Research, where the movie takes place, and has like a bunch of essays about the making of the film. Behind the scenes stuff, storyboards. That's pretty rad. Great cast. It's Thomas Jane, Samuel L. Jackson, Saffron Burrows, Michael Rappaport, LL Cool J, Thomas Jane. I don't know if I said Thomas Jane. And it also comes with a poster, which has the new poster art that was commissioned for this, which, if you're afraid of sharks, that's kind of terrifying. And the original poster art, which is pretty rad too. Saffron Burrows there with her cleavage hanging out. Sharks like, I'm delicious. Like I said, I love this movie. It is cheesy as all hell. Does it hold up completely nowadays that I've watched it? And it had been a while since I last saw it, but I watched this the day it showed up too. Not completely. It's super cheesy and convenient a lot of the times, and a lot of stupid shit happens. But I love the psycho scene in it where, you think this person's going to last all the way through the movie, and they're like, nope, nobody's safe. And it's awesome. I love the soundtrack, especially. I think it has a fantastic soundtrack. My brother used to even say, my brother hates this movie. My brother was like, for a movie that bad, it has one of the most fantastic pieces of music that I've ever heard. And they used it over trailers for years. So pretty popular. I absolutely love it. I had to have that. How Samuel L. Jackson sings a duh, 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 duh. What'd you think of Dream Master? Which one? Nightmare on Elm Street? Oh, Rennie Harlan. Not one of my favorites. I used to love it when I was a kid because it was very MTV. But watching it as an adult, I'm like, nah. it's just a repeat of part 3. I prefer part 3. Part 3 is probably still my all-time favorite. Part 4 just feels like the Wish version of part 3. Really like that poster. Yeah. But the big thing I got from Second Sight Films, where I got Late Night with the Devil, High Tension, Dog Soldiers, and Green Room, is I absolutely had to get this limited edition of Scanners. So, like I said, limited editions. I was hoping I could have gotten the limited editions of those 4 movies that I mentioned earlier, but they had already sold out. Well, they still had them for Scanners. So I was like, get that while you can. And it wasn't much more expensive than getting just the standalone 4K, which I was like, okay with. Absolutely love that artwork on the front. If you've seen Scanners, you know. Psychics that have the ability to like kill you. Government's trying to weaponize them, control them, and people ain't having it. I still haven't watched this edition of it yet, so I just opened it. We'll do a little unboxing. So you got the card here. Tells you what the special features are, what's limited edition about it. The back artwork. Shield your eyes if you're sensitive. That's awesome. Another one with like a really hard case, which I love. So if I drop it, it's not going to damage anything. Comes with the thing about Second Sight is I have 3 other limited editions of theirs, and they really go all out when it comes to like the book that comes with the movie. Look how thick that damn thing is. With essays upon essays and interviews about the making of the movie. What did I just see that picture of Michael Ironside screaming? There it is. Bad things happen to people who use their powers in this movie. Can't get you out of my head. It's really good. David Cronenberg. It's one of his first. I think it was the first movie of his that really like break through. He'd been doing a lot of really kind of crazy body horror movies, like real low budget ones in Canada. This was the first one that got like serious attention, mostly because of the head bursting scene. You got the movie here in this like digipack, and it comes with a bunch of lobby cards. Yeah. Oh, it's basically just all the artwork I showed you already. Yeah, it's all the artwork. It's all this stuff, just on cards. So nothing big, but had to get this because I have Scanners 2 and 3 on Blu-ray and like a double pack. I also have a double pack of Scanner Cop 1 and 2. So now I have the entire Scanners over. Which is cool. And then the last thing that I got movie-wise, holy shit. Scanners is kind of weird for me. It has that scene in it, but the rest of the movie is just all right. Honestly, I absolutely love it. My mind is blown. The movie that made me want to be a filmmaker got released in Australia. There's always been some kind of a weird rights thing with this movie. I don't know if it has to do with the music in it, like the songs or whatever, but like it only seems to be available on home video in like really short windows. Like I used to have it on VHS. I don't think it ever came out on DVD. A limited edition Blu-ray came out, and I had that. And then when I saw that this got announced on 4K, I was like, there is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I need to own that immediately. And I ordered the biggest set. They released 2 different sets of it. There's like one that's just the movie and one extra thing. And then there's like this big set, which cost me quite a lot of money. But because of the movie it is, I had to have it. And it finally showed up. And that is Hardware. And other countries, it's known as Mark 13. This is the movie that made me want to be a filmmaker. I've been making short films and stuff up until this point for years. This is the movie that made me want to start taking it seriously, like thinking about it like it possibly could be a career at some point. Saw it when I was, it came out in 1990. My mom had, and one of her friends from church, I think I've told this story before. I got the hiccups now out of nowhere. My mom and one of her friends from church, who would go bowling with her all the time. This woman had just gotten divorced, and she had one son, and he was like depressed, I guess, and didn't really have any friends. So my mom was kind of like, well, Chris and his name is Sean. Chris and Sean get along great. How about we start doing like these little play date kind of things, even though I was in fucking high school at the time. So 1990, I was a sophomore in high school. And she's like, how about we get them together like on Friday nights and they can go and hang out at the mall together and go see a movie or something. And because Sean was, I think, 2 or 3 years younger than me, he couldn't go to the things and see the movies that I could see in the theater and all that. So we ended up having his grandfather come along, and his grandfather would buy us both dinner and pay for the movies that we would go see and stuff like that. And the first time we hung out like that, we convinced his grandfather to take us to see this new movie that had just opened up called Hardware, which I had been reading about in Fangoria magazine. And I was like, I need to go and see that. It's about a killer robot loose in an apartment, killing people. We need to go and see it. And he was like, yes, we do. And we did. And it turns out like my entire graduating class from in high school was in that theater with us that night too. And the movie just blew my freaking mind. It was like watching a 90-minute music video with a plot and character development and all this kind of stuff. It was shot so crazy. And interestingly, I was like watching it going like each shot is a freaking painting. Like you could paint that and you could sell it. It was that good. And it's gory as hell. It has an awesome soundtrack for the time. It was like Ministry, Public Image Limited. Iggy Pop was in the movie. Lemmy from Motorhead is in the movie too. But like, it is just absolutely nuts. And I still hold it in high regard to this day. I still have a poster of it up right here, right above my head. So had to get this limited edition. So here's like the slip case that it comes with. And there's the Mark 13 cyborg that's loose in the apartment. There's Shades and Jill, the two of the lead characters. And the artwork here. I don't know if it has a reversible artwork for the. Yes, it does. Oh, it's just the same thing. I guess it's just for the region. Has that on the other side. Not worth it. But like I said, dude finds the remains of this like robot, this like trashed robot in the desert while he's out. It takes place in the future. There's been a nuclear war. Pretty much everybody's dying from radiation poisoning, but there's like cities where like everybody is dirt poor, but there's like this elite where, you know, people are super rich still. And one of the main characters is managed to eke out a living by selling artwork that she makes out of scrap and is able to live in one of these buildings. Her boyfriend works for the military and like leaves for like months and months at a time. And the movie follows him as he comes back. He has picked up this cyborg, the remains of this cyborg that he thinks his girlfriend can use in one of the sculptures that she's going to sell. Turns out it's not dead. It's not inactive. It's actually still alive and it's able to repair itself. And it does so using one of the sculptures that she's made out of metal and rebuilds itself and then goes through on a rampage in her apartment. And it is awesome. Has one of the goriest kills for at least the time being when I saw it back in the day. Here's a poster of the robot. Here's another one. I'll put this back. Also comes with some lobby cards, which I think will be easier to get out. Well, here's the back of what was on the packaging to tell you what's in it. It has a ton of extras, some new, some old. Come on, get out of there. I'm not going to open this, but there's Jill, who's basically the lead of the movie, Stacey Travis, who has some of the most beautiful freaking eyes I've ever seen. Her eyes are big, and she's great as the lead in it. Put this back real quick. So if you're a fan of like 90s style excess and stuff like that, I highly recommend it. But this also comes with not one, but 2 books. This one is the behind the scenes experiences and art hardcover book. Look how thick that is. It has storyboards and like essays on the movie and interviews and all that. Awesome. Not many pictures though, which is sad. But one of the main reasons I was super excited about this is this book that it comes with, which has the original shooting script for Hardware and the script for the unproduced sequel, Hardware 2 Ground Zero. So the director of this, Richard Stanley, he's from South Africa. This was his first big movie. He'd done a bunch of music videos and stuff for like Fields of the Nephilim, I think was the band. This was his first movie, and it became a huge hit. Like for such a low budget movie, it became a pretty big hit. He made this movie called Dust Devil, which he mistakenly sold to the Weinsteins, and they butchered it. And there's like 3 cuts of that movie floating around. But the big thing everybody knows him for is he was the initial director for The Island of Dr. Moreau that came out in the 90s with Val Kilmer and Marlon Brando. And he worked on the movie for like 10 days. And Val Kilmer had like a hissy fit, like a prima donna hissy fit, and got him fired. And like Stanley had put everything into making that movie because that was like his dream film, was that story, trying to do like a retelling of that story. And then this freaking diva actor just has a hissy fit and gets him fired. So he like lost his mind. And he like went out into the forest or the jungle where they were filming it in like the Philippines or whatever it was, and like lived out there for like a month, and then ended up like stalking the production and like sneaking his way back in. One of the makeup effects people saw him one day and was like, come here, and made him up to look like one of the creatures and put him in the movie. It's like, it's nuts. And then he gave up directing because he said that was the most horrifying thing to ever happen to him in his life. So he like gave up directing. But like in 2018, 2019, he finally said, I'm ready to start doing it again. And he made Color Out of Space with Nicolas Cage, which is an H.P. Lovecraft adaptation. It's pretty goddamn good. So now he's kind of back. So being able to read the screenplay for the unproduced sequel, I was like, I need that right now. So still have not had a chance to do that. I need to get some readers because I'm an old fuck so I can read it. But absolutely had to have this. There was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I was going to get it. And I was just glad that they still had them available when I went to order it, because I totally forgot about it at one point. And I was just like, oh, wait, that freaking hardware set came out, didn't it? Needed to get it. And it also came with a freaking t-shirt, which I have not opened yet. No flesh shall be spared is the tagline, because the robot is actually a population control robot. And Mark 13, which is the name of the robot, the robot has been given by the government. No flesh shall be spared is from the part of the Bible, the verse of the Bible, Mark 13, which is pretty appropriate, which is probably why they chose it as that name. And it is, I'm afraid that I don't want to wear this. I don't want to ruin it, is my thing, which is why I've never opened it. So there's that. But yeah, I highly recommend checking it out. It is super freaking cool. My only problem is, as a person who has watched this movie probably once a year since it came out, I'm not a big fan of this 4K transfer. The movie was like, every time I've seen it, it's super colorful. The movie has this orange palette because it's like, after a nuclear war, it's like supposed to be like every day it's 125 degrees out. It's like super hot all the time. And there's this orange filter that is like, every shot is like, it's like steeped in orange. And then there's like times where you're in the apartment building at night and they've got these red and blue gels like lighting up the background, and it looks super interesting. But for some reason, when they remastered it, apparently they did it with Richard Stanley, and I cannot for the life of me understand why he decided to do this. Decided to like lessen the saturation of the colors. So now the movie looks brown. Like it's like, it's ugly now. Like it really kind of pissed me off. I was like, why did you do that? I remember this movie being super colorful. I don't get it, but the movie's still awesome, regardless of if it looks colorful or not. Never heard of any of that? I highly recommend checking it out. I'll read it to you like a bedtime story at MoGameCon. Oh God, Peter. Welcome back, by the way. So yeah, that's it for the films. Now we can get into the video games, but we'll start off with the stuff that had nothing to do with MoGameCon. Thanks, Peter. Like Days Gone Brown? Yeah. The stuff that I got outside of Midwest Gaming Classic. Let's go with... No. Okay, we'll go with oldest console to newest. So I usually ignore Castlemania games because they mostly just release... Oh, shit, I forgot a bunch of movies. I forgot the Steelbooks. Luckily, there's not a lot of them. But yeah, I had some steelbooks I put aside so I wouldn't ding them up. Okay, I'm not done with the movies yet. We still got some steelbooks. Okay, I'll just run through them real quick. Steelbook of Constantine. For some reason, this came out on steelbook 3 weeks earlier at Walmart compared to everywhere else, because I had ordered this off of Groove, who was like a direct-to-consumers website. And like I saw people like 3 weeks before this came out, like the street date, like, oh, I just picked this up at Walmart, unless Walmart decided to put them out early. I don't know. But had to get this. I absolutely love Constantine. Also, TJ will love it. I picked up the steelbook of Sonic the Hedgehog 3, which is probably my favorite of the 3 Sonic the Hedgehog movies, although I still have not watched the Knuckles TV show that's on Paramount Plus. I need to watch that. Maybe I'll do it this weekend. I don't know. Yeah, Constantine is awesome. They're finally talking about making a sequel to it. Constantine is great. Sonic variant. I didn't realize there was a variant, but yeah, got this off of Amazon. I just pre-ordered it, and it's what showed up. 50 minutes of fun-filled featurettes, deleted scenes. Also got a steelbook of Full Metal Jacket, Stanley Kubrick's Vietnam War movie with the guy who plays Kingpin now, or plays Kingpin in the Daredevil show, Vincent D'Onofrio. The most memorable thing in this movie is everything that he does, and the drill sergeant, Arlie Ermy. The shit that comes out of his mouth is like toxic beyond belief. Had to get that. Also picked up, I'm going to open this because this might have one of those hidden images. We'll find out because we're kind of hit or miss with these things. But Lionsgate is now doing like the limited edition thing. You can only get like certain movies of theirs through their website. They will not be available in stores or on Amazon. You have to get them straight from them. And they only release a limited amount. So if you don't get them right off the bat, you're probably going to be paying triple on eBay. But I pre-ordered this, and they released the uncut version of Basic Instinct on 4K. And this is one of those things where it has that plastic slipcover. When you take it off, it might reveal something like a hidden image on the actual steelbook itself. Oh, I thought it was going to be the beaver. Oh, boo. What's on the back? That's pretty cool artwork, though. I'll give him that. But I've always loved this movie. It's dirty. It feels scandalous, especially back in the 90s when, like, lesbian relationships and stuff was really taboo and no one was talking about it. But it's like they do flash a bush in this, and it's like there's a lot of crazy sex shit going on in it. And it was cut for violent content, too. The opening kill scene, they cut a lot out of it, and it was nasty as hell. But my brother and I, like every other Sunday night, my parents would go bowling in a league, and it was like, I think they were usually gone until about 10:30 at night. They'd leave at like 6, they'd come back at 10:30 at night. And they would leave us money to go and get a pizza or go get dinner somewhere and enough money to go and rent a movie. So the thing is, I would always send my brother out to do that stuff because I was like, I'm the older person here. You do what I say. My brother would be like, okay. So I was like, hey, go and get tacos from that taco restaurant at the plaza around the corner, and then go to the video store and see if you can rent Basic Instinct. He's like, they're not going to let me rent Basic Instinct because at this point, this came out in 1992, which means I was a junior in high school, and my brother was probably in 6th grade. He's 5 years younger than me. He was either in 6th grade or just started junior high. I can't remember. He's like, they're not going to let me rent it. I'm like, just say that you're renting it for mom and dad. They know us. Just do it. He's like, okay. He's like, what movie you want to rent as a backup? I'm like, there is no backup. You're going to get Basic Instinct. And sure enough, he came back with it. And he's like, I'm like, did they say anything? He's like, no. They were just kind of like, oh, your parents wanted to watch this? And my brother's like, yeah. So, yeah, it's awesome. It's a great movie. Sequel, on the other hand, trash. Absolute trash. Grandma Sharon Stone with liver spots showing off them saggy titties. There's a Sonic and a Shadow Steelbook. Oh, I did not know that. You got the Shadow one? Okay, I did not realize that they were doing that. Sucky, sucky, $5 Peter. God damn it. Just haven't found a good time. Should be a treat then. Oh, Retro Coop, what's up? Or Retro Couple? Retro Couple. Have I been saying it wrong the whole time? You've never seen Basic Instinct? Dude, get on that. It's a really good, like, erotic thriller. It's probably one of the only ones that I've seen that's pretty good. But I had to pre-order this because of what it is, but this movie is a flaming pile of dog shit. But I had to get it because of what it is, like I said. And that is Star Trek Section 31. This is the Star Trek movie that was made for Paramount Plus streaming. That is sort of like a follow-up to one of the characters from Star Trek Discovery, which was played by Michelle Yeoh. And now that because she's got an Oscar for Everything Everywhere All at Once, very deserving, they were like, we got to make a movie with her. Let's bring her back and make a movie. Well, they made one. I'm not exaggerating this, in my opinion. A lot of people say Star Trek V is the worst Star Trek movie ever made. A lot of people say that it's Star Trek the Motion Picture. Some people say Star Trek Nemesis. Whoever says that could eat my ass. Some people say Generations. Some people say Insurrection. I say it's Section 31. This is the worst Star Trek thing to ever be released. And why? It doesn't feel like fucking Star Trek. That's why. It's like they took an unrelated sci-fi script, threw in the character from Discovery, who Michelle Yeoh plays, Giorgio, and made a movie. And it's generic. It's short. It's like not even 90 minutes. It's like there's nothing going on in it. There's nothing Star Trek in it. There's nothing like connecting it to Star Trek outside of her character. It doesn't. They were like Section 31 is from Deep Space Nine, there is one character who is in like this crew. It's trying to be like the Suicide Squad or what Thunderbolts is right now. It's trying to be like this underdog group of people trying to do the right thing. And one of the characters is the captain, like the young version of the captain of the Enterprise C, who we met in a Next Generation episode called Yesterday's Enterprise, where like she ends up coming back in time, she ends up moving forward in time, and it screws up history. Well, the younger version of this character is in this crew. And the thing is, if you take the year that this movie takes place in, compare it to when her character was the captain of the Enterprise C, that means when she was the captain of the Enterprise C, she's like 125 years old. It makes no sense that her character is in this. It is just, everything about it is stupid and dumb. And I was like embarrassed watching. I was like, if I had anything to do with this, I would be embarrassed. Like, I'm a bad Trek fan for even considering making this, but because it's Star Trek, I had to have it. Have all the Star Trek things. It's terrible. Yeah, Star Trek V. If you ask me personally, Star Trek V is the worst Star Trek movie for me. Nemesis is one of my favorites, and that one's the one that everybody gives shit to. I love Nemesis. I loved it so much, I wrote a sequel script to it, and I have another one planned. So there's that. Now we can get into the video games. I'm glad I noticed that I had them sitting right there because I put them there so they wouldn't get dinged up by piling things on top of them. Anyway, now we can get to the games. Castlemania games. I usually don't like buying things from them because all they seem to sell are like controllers and repros of games that are already in existence. Like, oh, this game is kind of expensive, like Joe and Mac. What? Like, we're going to sell you a repro of it. No, I don't need a repro. I just go and buy the copy of Joe and Mac. If it was Musha, that's one thing, but not Joe and Mac. Sorry. So like, I usually don't pay any attention to them, but like I was on Facebook and like an ad for them came up and they advertised this thing. And I was like, oh, that's a repro of a game that never got released over here. Well, like an official reproduction of a game or two games that never got released over here. These are from Japan, and it's the Hammer and Harry, what do they call it? The Concrete Collection. So there's two games in here which were exclusive to Japan. We never got them over here, and they're supposedly supposed to be pretty goddamn good platformers. And I love me a good platformer. So I said, you know what? I'll do it. So I ordered it. You got Hammer and Harry 1 and Hammer and Harry 2, and it has a subtitle. But I don't know it. And I'm also glad that this comes in a very hard outer box. It even came with its own protector, which I think is fantastic. And then you got the two games here. This is like from the back of the packaging. This shows like pictures of the games. But I have not opened these yet, so let's do so. Your favorite one is the fourth one. See, I'm not a fan of the fourth one. Like, so the whole plan with the Star Trek, the original crew Star Trek movies was 2, 3, and 4 were supposed to be like a trilogy within the series of like an ongoing storyline that was supposed to start with Wrath of Khan, continue in Search of Spock, and end with Voyage Home. Well, Wrath of Khan and Search for Spock were dark. They were violent. There was like consequences for things that people did. And it's like, you think the fourth one is going to continue that. I'm like, no, we're going to make this happy movie. We go back in time and play with some whales. I'm like, no, the tone is off. Like, it's not how I wanted this story to like end. And I cannot stand that one. I don't think it's like god awful or anything, but I watch it probably the least because I'm like, you got like this really dark, awesome story with Wrath of Khan. It gets kind of silly in Search for Spock, but whatever. And then like all of a sudden it's like we got the hippie movie with part 4. And I'm like, no, I'm good. So here we go with the first Hammer and Harry. And it has like an outer slip and you can see some of the gameplay shots. And it comes in like this thing. I think it's supposed to be like a book. Yeah. So this is just like the Vinegar Syndrome movies, the blue or the 4Ks that I buy that are like magnetically sealed. And it opens up like a book. Which is pretty rad. This is number 2068 out of 2,500 units. Okay. Okay. That is bizarre as hell too. So, okay, we got a manual. There is no box. I guess this is the box because the card itself. Oh shit, my chair just dropped. Okay. The cartridge itself looks like it's made out of wood. That is nuts. It also comes with like a backdrop, I'm assuming, because it comes with a display case where you're supposed to put the cartridge. You're supposed to slip the cartridge into this and display it, which I'm not going to do. Which is, I'm assuming that you're supposed to stand it up, put this in the back. Actually, no, that goes in the front. I don't know what the hell that's all about. Oh, it's to continue this the picture when you're not. Okay, I got it. I got it. It's so dumb. Overly complicated. Okay, and then you put this over the cartridge, so it completes the image. Okay, whatever. Cool, I guess. And then that goes on top, and you've got the first game. Now let's go to the second game. Hang on a second. I wish I have my scissors in the other room. Damn it. Shit. Am I going to have to bite this like I did when I like chew on this with my teeth like I did when I was a kid to try to open up a game? God damn it. No, I have to use a screwdriver because I'm a goddamn adult. That's why. Shit. Sorry, I feel like I'm wasting everybody's time. Did I do it? Did I do it? No, I'm going to have to gnaw on this like a little kid. There we go. Got it. Okay. So Hammer and Harry 2. I'm not sure what the subtitle is. Does it have it on the back here? Officially released outside of Japan and translated for the first time now. It doesn't even have the subtitle listed, but there we go with the box. There's the image on the inside. Looks like Crash and the Boys or something. Take that out. And then the cartridge in this one looks like it's made out of marble, which is pretty awesome, I got to say. Another full color manual and another stand for you to display the game, which I would never in a million years want to do. So I posted this on I posted the picture of this on Discord, and Eugene, EC Myers vids, was like, I've always wanted to play those. I hear they're pretty good. So I hope they are. I hope they were worth all this trouble. Now if I can only get these back in here without destroying them. Oh, look at that. Awesome. Back in the case, because I'm afraid that I will jack this thing up. So that's awesome. But I also picked up at the same time this new Dreamcast game. TJ knows about this, and it's called Fragmented Almanac. There you go. The reflection. It's a brand new game for the Dreamcast, and from what it sounds like, it's like 2 or 3 games in one. And like you combined everything, kind of like turns into like a story. Like at first everything seems fragmented, but like when you put them all together, it like creates like a story that covers everything. You need it. You do. Oh, 2 games: Summoning Signals and Repori Cycle. Can't really see much about it, but it looked really interesting. And I think it had just been released because like I ordered this. And then like 3 days later, Adam Koralik does a video about it. And I was just like, oh, okay. Like, I didn't even know it existed, but apparently he did. But back in January, I talked about trying to get all those Final Fantasy Legend games for the Game Boy that I'd found 1, 2, and 3 at one of my local stores. And then the second one didn't have a cartridge in it. So I had to take it back. And then like in February, I showed off the fact that I did eventually get the game back into my collection after I had returned the one with no cartridge. I found one online, and I was just kind of like, well, I've got all 3 of the Legend games. Maybe I should get that other one. So I picked up a copy of Final Fantasy Adventure, which is the one that I do believe is actually part of the Legend of Mana series. Like this might actually be the first game in the series, if I'm remembering correctly. But it just got retitled Final Fantasy Adventure to sell copies in the US. So this is more of like an action RPG than a full-on RPG like the Legend games are. So I now have all 4 of the Final Fantasy games on the original Game Boy. And this was not cheap, but I just wanted to get it because I was like, I had the money at the time, and I was like, if I get this now, that means more money towards other games at the Midwest Gaming Classic. So got that. And then we're coming to all this well, we'll do the one part of the Mana series. Yep, I figured it. I remember reading about it somewhere that it was. TJ, do you have this for the Switch? Magical Drop 6 on the Switch. I got this from Limited Run. I've been a big fan of Magical Drop ever since. Like there was a bowling alley by my job that I lost in 2011 that had I want to say it was one of those Neo Geo 4 cartridge arcade cabinets, and one of the games was Magical Drop on it. And if it wasn't, it was something like that. It was a long time ago. And me and one of my friends used to play it on in the arcade there when we go there after work sometimes. And it was kind of like a variation of Bust a Move or Puzzle Bobble. And I thought it was really fun, where you gather colored orbs from that are like coming down from the ceiling, and you're like running around the bottom. You gather colored orbs of the same type and try to move them to where the same colored orbs are and throw them back up to get rid of them. It's a lot of fun. Well, I didn't realize it was 6 games worth of fun and how much further you can take this concept. Because if you look at the back, it looks exactly the same as every other game in the franchise. So it's like, why did it need to continue? I don't know. But I like it, so I'm going to get it. You do not. Oh. Should I look it up on Amazon and see if they have copies left over? So, yeah. The only Switch game I've gotten this year, I want to say. And then all this PS5 stuff. So we'll go with the stuff that had nothing to do with Limited Run. This I think came from Limited Run. Yeah, that did. So because of the Midwest Gaming Classic, they had voice actors from the Devil May Cry games there this year. And I'm not a big fan of Devil May Cry. I haven't really put much time into the franchise, so I can't really say that I like it or dislike it. I've played the first one a little bit. Didn't really like the way it controlled, so I never really went any further into it. But like the person who I was staying with, Ryan Rocket Sauce from the Cartridge Club, like for like a good chunk of Saturday, that's all we talked about, or he talked about, was Devil May Cry stuff. And he told me that there was like a special edition of the 5th game available on the PS5. So I went out and found a copy of Devil May Cry 5 Special Edition. And he was making it sound like it was like kind of hard to find now because it has all this DLC on it, and I don't think it's available anymore. I'm like, I just went to Amazon and they had it for like $30. I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. But I do have all the games in the franchise on the PS4, every single one of them. Some of them you can only get in Japan. I think that was DMC. So now I did have this for the PS4, but it was the original version, but I want the complete one with all the DLC in it. So this is my new version of Devil May Cry 5. So there's that. TJ's a big fan of the Switch. Don't do it, man. You're gonna piss him off. Also bought a copy of Dead Island 2, the Ultimate Edition. So this has all of the DLC built into it already. And I do believe this is a first-person. Yeah, this is a first-person shooter. I've barely played the first game, but Church the Game Grinder has told me how much they love this. So when I saw that it was discounted to like $20 or whatever on Amazon, I was like, I need it. So I picked up a copy. Let's put these down here. DMC 1 is janky for sure, but the second one is god awful. But DMC 3 is very solid. Yeah, Ryan says that. I think it was the second game where he said it's the only game in the series he didn't finish. Like he liked DMC more, like the one that everybody seems to hate. But he said he never finished the second one. But he loves the first one. He loves the third one. But I think he said the 5th one is his favorite. Also picked up a copy of this off of Amazon at the same time as I got Devil May Cry and Dead Island, because this was like $10. It's called God of Rock, which is a rhythm game of some sort. And I saw a rhythm game. I was like, yep. Battle to the beat in a clash for musical supremacy in this competitive rhythm-based fighter. It's a fighting rhythm game. So, absolutely had to get that. I am excited to hope when I will finally be able to play that. I do believe the rest of these came from Limited Run. Yes, they did. And I'll just burn through these real quick. So starting off with Gimmick 2, which is the sequel to a Famicom game we never got over here, which was, I think, called Mr. Gimmick. I don't know if it was just Gimmick. I thought it was Mr. Gimmick. But the fact that we got a remaster for it on the PS5 still baffles the mind, because I thought wasn't there actually a real Gimmick 2 in Japan for the Famicom or something? I don't know. But it's a platformer, and it was the original Gimmick was one I was going to buy from Time Lock Games before they closed their doors. Also from Limited Run got Front Mission 2 Remake. I have the original Front Mission Remake. Had to get the second one, but these are giant mech games from Square. I do believe these are from... Were these by originally from Software? I can't remember. Or whatever. Because I had the first one, I had to get the second one. Turn-based combat comes to life. Also got this one called Crypt Master. But I ordered this so long ago, I barely remember why I wanted it. Oh, this is the one where it's like a word... It's like a puzzle, like a word game, where you have to type things in, and you can type in anything you want, and the game will probably react in some way. So, I think that was why I wanted it. Say anything in this bizarre dungeon adventure where words control everything. Fill in the blanks with text or voice to uncover lost abilities, embark on strange quests, and solve mind-bending riddles. Can you conquer the crypt and uncover the mystery at the heart of Crypt Master? I now know why I bought it. Yeah, I definitely need to get some readers. Last Saturday I went to Wisconsin to work on a film project with my brother, and I was doing the behind-the-scenes filming of everything. And the thing is, the screen on the camera I was using was super tiny, and I'm looking at it, I'm like, I can't even tell if I have everything in focus or not. My brother goes, here's some readers. And I put these readers on, and I was like, my world has changed forever. I'm like, I need to get some readers because I'm extremely farsighted. I cannot read stuff that's like right in front of me, but like across the room, I'm fine. So I need to go like Walgreens to get me some readers or something. The Reboot DMC is way better. Next up is Freedom Planet 2, which is, I think, a Metroidvania. Become a full-time cartoon heroine and use abilities and items suited to your play style to explore the world of Avalis and defend animal citizens. All new playable character Nira can use powerful frost arts to punish foes. Yeah, I do believe this is a Metroidvania series. I have the first one for the PS4, so naturally I'm a completionist. I had to get part 2. Also picked up this Wizardry remake, which I actually have on the NES. This one specifically, Proving Grounds of the Mad Overlord. I have it, but this is a full-on remake dungeon crawl, like an old school dungeon crawler where it's like a first person going through dungeons type of dungeon crawler, not like a top-down Diablo clone. So I had to get that because I love those old school ones. And then the last game from Limited Run is Castlevania Dominus Collection. This is all 3 of the Castlevania games that came out on the Nintendo DS. Yeah, the DS. Dawn of Sorrow. Oh my god, I can't even read that. Dawn of Sorrow. Shit, I own all 3 of them on the DS. I can't even read them because the font is so fucked up. But the cool thing is, this also has Haunted Castle, which is like the arcade version of Castlevania, which is pretty rad. So I had to get that because who knows? I might want to stream these games at some time. And how am I supposed to stream them off a DS? This is the perfect way to do it. And I have all the other collections of all the Castlevania games already on other consoles, most likely most of them on the PS4, I think. So I had to get that. So now we can get into the Midwest Gaming Classic, which is what everybody was hoping for, I guess. That's probably most people that have ever shown up for one of my... you still need to pick that collection up. They have it on their website, or their webpage on Amazon, so you can probably get it there. It might be a little bit more expensive than it was originally if you want to get the physical one. Okay, so Midwest Gaming Classic happened the first weekend of April, and I went for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So like I said, went Friday morning. I left on Friday morning to go to Wisconsin because I was staying with Rocket Sauce from the Cartridge Club like I had done for the past few years. Excuse me. Went and sold some stuff at Half Price Books before I went so I'd have some extra money to spend at the con. Got to his place, and we did a little game hunting before anything happened. Me and him went out. We went out and got a burger at this Smash Burger place that was not too far from where he lives. It was really, really good. And it was like, I have never been to a place that serves smash burgers where you order and literally 2.5 minutes later, your food is at your table. It was so fast and it was super good. And then we went to this music store, and once again, I am blanking on the goddamn name of it, but there's this music store near Rocket Sauce that sells CDs on top of musical instruments and stuff. I think they started off as a musical instrument store, but they kind of started branching out. They have like video game soundtracks on vinyl. They sell vinyl. They sell CDs. They have a huge CD section, and they sell video games. They have a very large video game section. And I usually, like last year before the con, Rocket Sauce took me there, and we found a lot of stuff. So I asked him if we could go back there since he was planning on going out doing some game hunting anyway. And I was like, can we go to that record store? He's like, yeah, sure. So he went, and naturally, I found some shit. And what exactly did I buy there? Finding that stuff is going to be an issue because I can't remember. Oh, I got 2 things there. That was what it was. It was this and this. Okay. God, now I got to start rearranging shit. Where are you? All the way at the bottom. Of course you have to be all the way at the frickin' bottom. So like I said, I wasn't trying to spend a lot of money before the con. I was trying to save all my money for the con specifically because a lot of the stuff that I'm looking for my collection is now kind of expensive. So I wanted to have as much money on me as possible. But I did find Miss Pac-Man on the Genesis, which I've always wanted. Miss Pac-Man is my favorite of the old school Pac-Man arcade games. And I hear this is the best version of it. So I had to pick it up. And it was dirt cheap. This was like $12 or something. And it's complete. So I was like, can I have that? Yep, I'll take it. And they had, surprisingly, a lot of Sega Saturn games. And the thing is, I'm currently like in the middle of streaming like Saturn games on Thursday nights in place of my collection streams that I was doing. So this is what kicked off what you're going to see a little bit later in the stream from the convention itself. Was I saw these Saturn games there, and I was like, oh, there's an idea. So I picked up 10-Pin Alley there for like $10. Because I said to Rocket Sauce while I was standing there, I'm like, well, if it's in good condition, that could be kind of fun to stream, like a bowling game. That's just something really fun that you can, just stream it. Who knows who'll show up for that? And he's like, that's actually a pretty good idea. So I picked it up, and it was dirt cheap, and it was kind of sealed. I think it was resealed. And of course, because when you open it up, there's no sponge in there. But I'm like, I need to look at the disc because these have a tendency to get jacked up, with disc rot. And he opened it up for me to look at, and it was like brand spanking new. I saw absolutely zero flaws in this, and I was like, okay, I will take it. So 10-Pin Alley. And like I said, that kicked something off for the entire weekend, and I'm not sad about it. So I think that was the only... We went to a couple of other places. Oh, we went to some media stores. Mega Media, something or other. We went to like 2 of them. And I don't recall getting anything there. Let me take another look real quick. Oh, no, I did buy something there. About one thing. And I had just found out about this like 2 weeks before this. And I was like, well, that was my chance. So normally when a new modern game comes out, I don't buy it day one. Number one, I'm not paying $70 for a goddamn game. I don't care how much I'm looking forward to playing it. Number two, 9 times out of 10, these games have DLC attached to it that has yet to come out, which will just add on to that $70. How about I just wait until the collected edition comes out? The special edition, the Game of the Year edition, whatever you want to call it, comes out. It's exactly what I was doing with this game because the previous game in the series did exactly that. I waited. All this DLC came out. They released a Game of the Year edition, and not only was it not $70 when that came out, it was like $30 when it came out. So I'm like, you know what? There you go. So I was waiting for that to happen to this. It's not going to happen because from what it sounds like, the company had come out and said there is not going to be any DLC for this game. We were talking about doing it, but we decided to change our mind. So the game that is out is the game that you're going to have forever. And I was like, well, now that you said that, and the game is pretty old at this point, it's like a year old, more than a year old, it's pretty cheap now. So I'll buy it. And they had it at this Mega Media store that we went to. And that's Spider-Man 2 on the PS5. Been waiting for that collected edition to come out, which is never going to come out. So now I can finally play through this and not have to worry about missing story content. So super happy about it. Bam. And that was pretty much it for what I bought outside of the convention. Normally I would kind of go crazy, but I didn't want to, like I said. So got together with one of Ryan's friend, one of Rocket Sauce's friends, who goes by, I don't know if I want to say his name out loud. Did my mouse die? Son of a bitch. Let me look it up real quick. He's also a streamer. He streams on, I think, Twitch, YouTube, and there's like a third option he mentioned that I don't recall what it is. But his channel is Atomic Bomb, or his YouTube, or his Discord server is Atomic's Bomb Shelter. Let me see if he has a stream updates. Shit. Stream updates. Hang on a second. Is there like a link? Atomic Bomb 1980. That's what he goes by. So he's a friend of Rocket Sauce's. So we hooked up with him. We went out and got dinner. Hung out at his place for a little bit. And then that was it for the night. and then woke up in the morning, met up with Atomic Bomb again, and went straight to the con. And I didn't spend money right away again. Normally, like, I walk into the place. Was it Atomic Bomb? Yeah, the guy that was with us at the dinner on Saturday night, that was Atomic Bomb. He's always there in the Cartridge Club. Yeah, that's him. Yeah, he was the guy that was with us for the dinner at the TV place. Didn't buy things right away again. Normally, like, I walk into the Midwest Gaming Classic, and the first table I go to, I'm like, ah! That didn't happen. I was like walking around going like, prices are okay. Here's some cool stuff. Yeah, maybe I'll come back. The thing that pissed me off, well, it doesn't piss me off, it annoyed me about the con this year, and it started like 2 years ago, is that this year, the con was like 50% craft vendors. Like back in 2018, 2019, you'd have maybe 5 tables that were selling like some 3D printed stuff or some knitted stuff, some crafting things, maybe a couple of shadow box vendors or a poster vendor or something like that. This year it was like 50% craft vendors and 50% game vendors. And I was just kind of like, maybe put these people in a different room and put all the gaming stuff in this room, because like, it just annoyed the hell out of me. It's like every third table, every other table was like a craft table. And I was like, this isn't what I'm here for. And I'm doubting most people are here for that too. We're here for the games. So finally started seeing some stuff. And it's what happened at that music store the previous day that gave me the idea, where I'm like, I'm streaming Saturn stuff now. Maybe I should use, because I didn't really have a plan outside of one specific game I was looking, two specific games I was looking for at the con. I didn't really have a plan. I was just kind of like, if I see something I like, I'll pick it up. If it's a good price, whatever. But then seeing that, getting that 10-pin alley and seeing how many Saturn games were at that store. And then as I'm walking through all these tables, every single vendor, it was like Sega crazy this year at the MGC. It was like every table had tons of Sega stuff, especially Sega Saturn. Like normally you see 2 or 3, maybe 4 tables with Sega Saturn stuff. Everyone had Sega Saturn stuff this year, and it was like a lot of it. So I'm like, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to buy stuff that I can stream later on. And I went absolutely crazy. I bought so much Saturn stuff, and the Saturn boxes, are so big that I had to go back to my car twice to unload my backpack so I could carry more stuff in it. That's how much Saturn stuff I bought. So I'll go through all the Saturn stuff first. And I'm not going to go through, I bought these on this day and I bought these on the other day. I'll go through everything I bought and just talk about the days. So when it comes to all the Saturn shit I bought, hang on a second. One that I picked up is Dragonheart Fire and Steel, which also is available on the PS1, and I'm now finding out that games that were available on both PS1 and Saturn at the same time, PS1's probably the better version. I found that out with the Lost World Jurassic Park, which I streamed a couple weeks ago. Yeah, that game looks like ass, and it plays like ass on the Saturn, but I also have the PS1 version, not realizing they were the same game. I thought they were just different games because they were released by completely different companies, and the PS1 version is way better. So I'm not expecting this to be very good, but me and licensed games, we got a thing going on, so I had to get it. And I do not like this movie at all, but I was like, okay, fine. And it's a side-scrolling beat 'em up that is done with Mortal Kombat style digitized actor graphics, and everything is like pre-rendered and stuff. So it kind of reminds me of Dracula, or Bram Stoker's Dracula on the Sega CD, just with a nicer coat of paint and some dragons. So I had to pick this one up. I didn't even see a copy of the PS1 version there at all, so I was like, okay, I think I made the right choice. Maybe the PS1 version is harder to come by than the Saturn one, but like I said, Saturn shit was everywhere. Was it you, or was the con more packed compared to last year? It felt the same. They said more people were there this year. I think they said 35,000 people showed up this year, or they sold 35,000 tickets. It felt the same as last year to me. It was really crowded at the beginning, though, on Saturday. But, post-noon, maybe 1 o'clock, it started to clear out, and it was so much easier to go shopping, which is kind of like I think I was not buying much because I was having a hard time getting to some of the tables. Really felt like everyone found their hidden Saturn collection and brought it to the con. I know, right? It was everywhere. And like I said, that's what made me Go Saturn crazy. Also picked up Johnny Bazooka-Tone, which is a side-scrolling platformer. Your character has like this gun that looks kind of like not a saxophone, a trombone. This is actually a game that started out on the 3DO and then got a port to, I think, the PlayStation 1 as well. I think it's a long box PS1 game and the Saturn. I have yet to own this on the 3DO, so I said, might as well get it for the Saturn. I'm not trying to go for a complete 3DO collection or anything like that, so it doesn't matter if I have this on the Saturn or not. So I just thought this would be kind of a fun, silly platform-style game to stream. Save the soul of rock and roll. And the thing is, and trust me, every single one of these Saturn games that I bought at the con, you damn right, I made sure that that disc was not rotten. I looked at every single one of them, and if a person was kind of like, do I have to? I'm like, you want my money? You're going to pop this disc out of this bitch and show it to me. You're not getting anything. I also bought a game called Robotica, which is a first-person like mech game, which I think is an exclusive for the Saturn. I don't recall seeing this on the PS1. Otherwise, I probably already have it on, because this is like an early game. It would have been a long box. I don't think this is available on the PS1 at all. At least I don't recall seeing it. So snagged that, because first-person shooter games are my favorite, even when they're clunky, old-school ones like that. I think this one might be available on the PS1 also, and that is called Grid Runner. And I don't know much about this one. It looks like it's a top-down platformer, kind of like Bubsy 3D, I guess. But it was really cheap. That was the other thing about the con this year. A lot of the stuff that I ended up finding when it comes to like the Saturn stuff, except when it comes to like the harder to find games, all of this stuff was like dirt freaking cheap. It was like between 10 and $30. So like I was like getting a lot. That's why I got a ton of stuff this year, because I was getting my money's worth. So that could be fun to stream. Like I said, all of this was bought just so I could stream it. I'll save that one for later because that's kind of harder to find. This one is also a 3DO game. I totally forgot that this was available for the Saturn and probably the PS1 also, but the Casper game, based on the movie that came out in the 90s. And this is kind of like, if I remember correctly, kind of like playing like Luigi's Mansion kind of thing. A haunting 3D challenge based on the hit movie. With friends like these, who needs enemies? Hey, you are not afraid of a challenge, are you? Of course not. Laugh in the face of fear, all three of them. Use your ghostly skills to solve complex puzzles, find secret passageways, hidden doors, and locate the lost pieces of the dismantled Lazarus machine. Based on the hit movie, including some of the great 3D animation, hilarious gags, and original character voices, Casper is a challenging adventure for your family and friends. Just remember to choose your friends correctly. Play it in the dark if you dare. So, another licensed game. Had to have it. So, that could be fun to stream as well. Hopefully it's better than the Lost World was. Also picked up an RPG. So, one of the things I was thinking, like once I started doing this, I'm going to buy Saturn games for this con. I'm going to try to get stuff to stream. I was like, maybe get one of those really expensive RPGs that, I used to have back in the day when I actually had a Saturn in the 90s, but I got rid of because I'm a dumbass. So, like, I started thinking that I was going to get Magic... Was it not Magic Knight Ray Earth? God damn it, which one was it? There was one that I kept seeing. Fucking shit, I can't even remember the name of it now. It wasn't Shining Force 3. It was one of the Working Designs ones. God damn it. I saw it on like 3 different tables, and it was kind of within the range I was willing to pay for something. But something else caught my eye. But the one I ended up settling on for getting at least one RPG is Blazing Heroes, which looks like a poor man's version of Shining Force 3. Does not look great, but the price was right. So, snagged that one. Also picked up, this is a sequel or a remake or like an add-on pack or whatever to a game that came out originally on the 3DO. And that was kind of weird. I mean, like the PlayStation 1 and the Saturn were like the dumping grounds, like the way that Nintendo dumped all the Wii U games on the Switch. 3DO games got dumped on the Saturn and the PS1 at the very beginning of their lives because no one was buying 3DO stuff. Shining the Holy Ark, no. Maybe it was Magic Knight Ray Earth. It was one of the working design ones. God damn it. I can't remember the name of it. But I ended up picking up Off-World Interceptor Extreme, which is like a four-wheeler game in outer space kind of thing. And the physics are supposed to be absolutely crazy. I played this on the 3DO. I don't think I actually had this. I think it was on a demo disc that I had. And I played it that way, but I never actually bought a copy of it. This is the first version of this game I think I've ever owned. So this one actually looked like it would be really fun to stream. Switch on the fly between cockpit and chase views. Send a buddy into Oblivion in two-player head-to-head mode. Hate cheesy videos? So do we. Bust a gut watching two trash talkers smack the gratuitous video. Oh, yeah, there's the cut scenes in here are live action, like full motion video, but they do an MST3K thing where there's people sitting in a movie theater in silhouette watching the videos making fun of it. Magic Knights. I know that, but it's not. I know it's not Magic Knight Ray Earth. I don't think it was Magic Knight Ray Earth was the one I was looking at. It's something else. It's going to drive me crazy trying to remember what it was. Also picked up Creature Shock, the special edition. This is another one that was on the 3DO. Got ported over. I actually do have this on the 3DO. But yeah, this is like BioShock, early BioShock. Same people I think made this. This one is actually 2 discs, which is pretty rad. But it's like a first-person, like almost like Alien Isolation, I guess, is the way to describe it. So I thought that was like, this is going to be awesome to stream. Spectacular, full-screen 3D rendered, ray-traced animation, exciting varied gameplay with fast-paced space shooting and pulse-pounding first-person perspective exploration and combat. Incredible suspense heightened by atmospheric music and sound effects. 2 full CDs crammed with mutant creatures and cyberspace action-adventure. New shocking creatures, which is what the special edition is. Rocket through new and unique labyrinth of flying levels. Also, they added in flying levels, too. Reach us at the World Wide Web at dataeast.com. So, had to get that. This one, I was like, get some varied type of games to stream. So I picked up a copy of Theme Park. Will this be exciting to watch? Probably not, but I did have fun watching Peter streaming Sim City on the Super Nintendo a couple months ago. I wish he continued with it, actually. It was a lot of fun to watch, so maybe the same thing will happen with this. Maybe I'll try to create the worst theme park ever on stream. We'll see what happens. But at least this one has a sponge in it. So there's that. And this is from Bullfrog, right? Yeah, Bullfrog. That idiot. What's his name? Peter Molyneux. Lying sack of shit. And then the two that I think are the most uncommon, at least ones I never see in person, that I end up seeing on eBay a lot, but I never actually see them when I go out places. One of which is Virtua Fighter Kids. So I have Virtua Fighter and Virtua Fighter 2 on the Saturn. Virtua Fighter 1 was a pack-in game with the Saturn. Virtua Fighter 2 is probably one of my favorite games in the franchise. This is like a super deformed chibi version of, I guess, the second game, where everyone's got a big-ass head and a tiny-ass body. So it's just a repackage, I guess, of Virtua Fighter 2. So whatever, but could be fun to stream. Virtua Fighter Remix, I have that too. So I have that one also. So I had to get that. Is it any good? I don't know, because I never had that one back in the day. But the one I was the most excited to find outside of, like, on Sunday, my goal was to go and get whatever that. It's driving me absolutely crazy. What was the goddamn RPG I was going to buy? Let me look them up real quick. Albert Odyssey. That was the one I was going to buy. Albert Odyssey. I saw Albert Odyssey at 3 different tables. And I was like, it was in my price range that I was willing to pay on Sunday. And then this other thing happened, which I'll talk about when I get there. But the one that I was really excited to find, which I never see ever is Clockwork Knight 2. And why is that? I don't know. Was this a more limited release than the first one? The first one, I think, was a launch game for the Saturn, because I remember having it pretty much at the very beginning when I got my Saturn. I got it the weekend it came out. Not the day it came out, but the weekend it came out. I think it was a launch game. But from what I remember reading, that actually what we got as Clockwork Knight in the US was actually half of the Pepper Maru, whatever the hell the guy's name, Pepper something, the Pepper Maru game that they had in Japan. They basically split it in half because they hadn't finished translating it yet for the US, and they wanted to have games for the launch. So they were like, oh no, split the game in half and release the first half as Clockwork Knight, and then when we finish the second half, we'll release that as part 2. And that's like exactly what happened from what I remember. And part 2 came out like less than 8 months after the first one. But I never really saw this one anymore, so I only had the first one back in the day. So it's a platformer, and it's done with like pre-rendered graphics, kind of like Donkey Kong Country. And it's fun. It's just the jumping is a little clunky, if I remember correctly, and so is the combat. But I mean, it was charming. Clockwork Knight 2 actually has a code to unlock the first. What? So I only needed to have part 2. I don't need to have part 1. As a completionist, I'd probably keep it. So I went crazy for Saturn stuff, as you can see. But like I said, this was the Sega Saturn Con because every vendor had something Sega related. And like, what's the other collecting goal that I've been talking about for the last year and a half? I am trying to get a Sega 32X collection complete. So I saw some 32X stuff. And the thing was, I want to say the first game I bought was a 32X game. And then the Saturn, I started noticing all the Saturn stuff, and I was just like, but like the first Saturn game I bought was one of the heavy hitters. And I was like, I wanted to get this out of the way. So I picked up Knuckles Chaotix, which is like the bastard child of the Sonic franchise. Never played this back in the day. I remember hearing about it. I remember reading about it. I remember seeing it at stores, and I just never picked it up because from what my point of view, I was just kind of like, Sonic games are for kids, and I'm not a kid anymore. I want my full motion video shit. But I never really had a 32X until later on, so it didn't really apply to me anyway. But this is one where you play as Knuckles, and there's like this rubber banding bullshit play mechanic where you're attached to another character, and like if you try to run too far away from them and they're not moving fast enough, like you'll slow down, and eventually you'll go shooting backwards or they'll come shooting forwards, and vice versa. Like, it does not sound fun, but I'm willing to give it a shot. So you can kind of see some of the gameplay shots in there, and it is complete. It is completely complete. Music is awesome though. Once I understand the bungee mechanic, yeah, like it sounds really annoying. Kind of like why I don't like Resident Evil 0, because of that whole tethering bullshit that's going on in it. But we'll see. Go there. Also picked up a Sega CD 32X game, and this made me laugh. Like the guy that was running the table, I was like rifling through what he had, and I got to this, and I just started laughing, and the guy's looking at me like I'm nuts. I'm like, no, I did not forget to take my meds today, sir. This game is just such a silly idea that I find it hysterically funny. And that is Slam City with Scottie Pippen. It's a basketball game done with completely full motion video from the first person. So it's like from your point of view, but it's video. It's live action video of you like dribbling, and then like someone will get in your way, and it's like it turns into like Dragon's Lair, where it's like go left or right to dodge, hit that, maybe, and then you do that little video happens of you moving, and then someone else gets in your way, hit left or right to dodge, beep, and do it until you get to the basket and hit a button to shoot, kind of thing. It sounds absolutely ridiculous and stupid and clunky, but you know what? I'm here for it. This is also available on the Sega CD, but of course I'm going to get the 32X one. Number one, the graphics are definitely more clear and better res. But yeah, had to get it. Yeah, it's in one of those cardboard CD boxes there, which are garbage. But this one is actually in really good shape, and everything in here looks brand spanking new. It even has the more cool stuff, little card to like, what is this? Oh, to buy a t-shirt. And all the discs are here, and they're all in great shape. So, digital pictures. They were my heroes back in the day. I loved their stuff. I loved a good full motion video game, and that's it. The cutscenes are hilarious. I can just imagine. And then, like, once I got Knuckles Chaotix, I was kind of like, that's probably going to be it for 32X. Like, now that I'm on this, like, Saturn kick, I'm like, that's pretty much what I'm looking for outside of the two specific things I was looking for. But Sunday, I guess there was a section that I missed of the con on. Like, I walked through that entire vendor's hall at least twice on Saturday. And I guess I missed a section. I always end up missing at least one section. And the section that I missed was where I was getting a ton of Sega stuff last year. It's these two brothers who are like selling all their doubles. I got my Golden Axe Warrior there, my Sagaya for the Master System, a bunch of my 32X stuff I got there, like the Virtual Fighter, and I can't remember which ones I got from him. I got Virtual Fighter from him, T-Mac, I got a bunch of stuff from him. I can't even remember, but all Sega. Everything Sega. Master Systems, Genesis, and 32X stuff. Well, I missed their table. And it was like the same two guys, and I think one of them recognized me, and one of their wives was there this year. And I found a bunch of stuff, and I bought nothing but Sega stuff from them, too. So, like, when it comes to the Master System stuff I bought, I picked up Streets of Rage on the Master System. It's like, I knew this was available. I think the second one is too. These are basically ports of, or I guess the Game Gear version is a port of this. It's a downgraded port of the Genesis game. What surprises the hell out of me, though, is that it actually has all three characters to play as. Usually when you get one of these downgraded games, something gets left out. Like when it comes to Mortal Kombat on the Master System, there's always a character left out, or a couple of characters. So I was not expecting to find all three main characters available to play in this, but I'm glad that it is. I'm kind of curious to hear what the music sounds like, the Yuzo Koshiro music. I have not loaded this one up yet because I can't play Master System games on my Polymega. I got to bust out my Retro Freak in order to do it, and I don't feel like doing that. So I haven't even tested this one yet, but super glad that I found it because I was just kind of like, I never thought, and it was cheap. I always thought these ones like this were expensive, but it was dirt freaking cheap. Master System is an upgrade from the Game Gear. You have more pixels available and not restricted to small. Yeah. One of the reasons why I don't like the Game Gear version of it is because of the small ass window. But like the thing was, like, I don't know if these guys just were pricing shit to price them to get to sell, like they're just trying to move product, because like all of these Master System games that I bought were like way cheaper than I thought I'd ever see them in my life. Like I want to say Streets of Rage was $25, and I think this was like $25 or $30. And that's the Cyber Shinobi. I always assumed this was like a really expensive game, but apparently not. And it is complete. But yeah, another game in the Shinobi series, side-scrolling hack and slash platformer. Why not? So I saw, like I said, I was mostly at his table going like, I remember you from last year. Let me see all that 32X stuff you got. And they did have quite a bit. They did not. It was also the place last year that I found Web of Fire, the Spider-Man game that's like $1,400. They didn't have it this year. So I'm glad I didn't see it because I would have been like, no, there goes all of my money for the con. But like seeing this in Streets of Rage, like dirt freaking cheap, I was just like, I am not going to take advantage because maybe they priced them wrong. I don't know. But I did get one more 32X game, and it was from them, and it was Primal Rage. I almost bought this at Mo Game Con last year, but I ended up going with Brutal instead. This was way cheaper than that guy was selling it at Mo Game Con last year. Like I said, these guys, they must have just lowered the prices of their stuff to just move product. Like they just wanted to sell. So this was way cheaper, and I was actually pretty happy. Like the reason I mostly had the money to get these was because this was way cheaper than I thought it would be. And it's a port of the arcade game that was kind of like ripping on Mortal Kombat by turning everyone into a claymation dinosaur. And there's fatalities, and you have like worshipers for each dinosaur, like they're dinosaur gods that you play as. and your worshipers are like around the arena, and if like you're low on health, you can eat them to get some health back. It's kind of cool. Only problem I had with playing this in the arcade was the button combinations you had to do to pull things off, like moves and fatalities, sucked ass. Like you had 4 buttons, but you had to like hold 3 buttons down and then do like some sort of a controller movement. And just remembering it was like the ones for Mortal Kombat were so much easier to remember. This stuff was like so convoluted. It was just dumb. Back in the day, gamer. You know, even more bummed. Dude, it was Sega-tastic this year. It was every table had massive amounts of Sega shit. I like Captain Algebra wasn't able to go either, and I told him the same thing. I was just like, dude, you would have lost your mind with the amount of Genesis stuff that was at the con this year. And he was just like, thanks, rub it in. Make me feel bad about it. So much Sega stuff, I could not believe it. When it comes to Sega, like the final Sega thing that I bought. Oh, no, actually, no. I do have one other Saturn thing. So one of the things I always forget about is, you know, they did release games in other countries for the Saturn, for all these consoles, and I have the ability to play most of them on all these different consoles that I own, right? Where some great days. What's up, man, boy cave? Oh, man. We can see all the shit I bought. So far. So I forget to look for import games. And, you know, I was still looking for Saturn stuff that I can stream at some point on the channel. And I came across the Retro Dimensions table, which is the store by me that I choose not to go to a lot of the time because their prices are ridiculously stupid. They basically go by eBay and above. Like the guy seems to think that people are going to like not check what things are priced online or what price charting says things should be. That we're all just a bunch of dum-dums that are just going to pay these exorbitant prices that he puts up there. So I ran into his table and I was just like, nope. Because if he's expensive at the store, I can't imagine what the fuck he's charging at a table at a con. So I was like, nope, I'm good. So I completely avoided him on Saturday. I walked past his table and he looked at me and he recognized me. The guy who owns the store, he was there. He recognized me. He went like, oh, hey. And I just kind of went like, bye, and walked past. Well, Sunday, this is the reason why I didn't get Albert Odyssey, TJ. So go to his table, and I'm just kind of like, might as well take a look. You never know what you might find. He might be slipping on something that I catch. I don't know. We'll see. So one of the games I had seen at another table, I was like, on Saturday I saw it, and I'm like, I'm going to go back on Sunday, and I'm going to attempt to go and get a deal on it. Go back to get it. It was gone. I was like, so I'm like, that's out. So when that disappeared from my radar, I was like, Albert Odyssey, 100%. So I went looking for the Albert Odysseys. Well, I came across the Retro Dimension table first. And I'm just kind of glancing across what he had. And I see this. And I go, okay, it's like $50 more expensive than I saw it at the other table. Let's see why. So I ask him, I go, I saw this for $50 cheaper at another table. Why are you so expensive with it? He goes, look at it. And I go, what? And he goes, it's brand new. He's like, the guy that sold this to me said he played it once and it looks like it. And I go, oh yeah, well, show me. So he takes it out of the case because it was behind glass. He takes it out of the case. He opens it up. It does. It looks never been refurbished. It looks like it had never been touched by human hands. The disc was pristine. Everything in it was pristine. Even the case. You know, and I could give a shit about the case. So I'm like, okay, you got my attention. I go, are you willing to make a deal? And he goes, no. I go, well, anyway, I was going to buy this at another table, and that one did look like shit. So I'm like, I guess I'll take this. And that is Radiant Silvergun, the import Saturn game, which is supposed to be one of the best shmups on the console. So I have the ability to play this not only on my actual Saturn, because I have one of those cartridges that lets you play import stuff, or I can play it on my Polymega, which is how I'm going to stream this. And it is brand spanking new looking. It even has the registration card in it, which looks like it's never touched. The disc is spectacular. So I was like, okay, that's my big purchase for today. So this is why I did not buy Albert Odyssey like I thought I would. So there you go. That was my huge purchase for the con. Excuse me. One of my other things was if you see some 3DO games, maybe get some of those. I did see quite a bit. I was actually on Saturday wearing my 3DO shirt, and I walked to one of the tables close to the front doors of the vendor's hall, and the guy that was running the table saw me. I think it was the place where I bought Knuckles Chaotix. He looks at me and he goes, "Well, look at this distinguished gentleman over here. Let's get him some games to buy." So he goes and grabs every single 3DO game they had behind the counter and literally handed them to me for me to look at. And he had a lot of good stuff in that stack. But I was like, you know what? You can eat my ass with these prices. And I was like, you know what? I'm good. Most of them I already had, but there was a couple in that stack that I was like, But I'm like, I looked at the price and I was like, there's no way in hell. Take this back. But I will take that Knuckles Chaotix. But I did end up finding this at another table, and I laughed because this is also available on the Sega Saturn, which I own on a Saturn. But this game cracks me up. So I thought I would get it on the Saturn because it's the 3DO, because it's in perfect shape. This looks brand spanking new. And for a 3DO game, complete in the box, looking brand spanking new, never happens. And that's Pebble Beach Golf Links. This game makes me laugh so hard because it's all done with digitized actors like Mortal Kombat when it comes to the golfers and their caddies. And I don't know if this one has the walrus guy in it. The Saturn version has this golfer. Oh God, I can't remember what his name is. Who like talks shit to you while you're playing. If you start doing really bad, he'll be like, "Yeah, you got to get those points up," kind of thing. Stadler. His last name is Stadler. And that stuff is hysterical. But the thing is, I was watching a streamer on Twitch called, oh God, now I can't even remember his goddamn name. There was a streamer on Twitch I used to watch every weekend, and he was playing this every single weekend for like almost a year. He was trying to like get the perfect score kind of thing. And the character that he would always pick to play as came with a caddy who would do this specific maneuver. So like when you're trying to pick your clubs, the caddy will like hold the bag out in like an animation. They'll hold the bag out, and then your golfer will kind of like lean over to look at it. When you go to pick your angle to shoot at, the caddy for this specific guy would take a step back and go like this, as like they're trying to think of something, right? But the thing is, where your character is standing compared to where the caddy is standing, when they do that maneuver, it looks like they're staring right at your ass. And I laughed every single time I saw it. And every time I would join the stream, that it's going to drive me crazy thinking of that guy's name. Every time I would join his stream and I would see that happen, I would type in the comments, Later, TJ. I got to head out. Lots of good stuff. Looking forward to looking more of the Saturn streams. Yep. Thanks for stopping by, TJ. I'll talk to you later. You can always finish the stream at your leisure after the fact. So having it on the 3DO also, I had to have. And this was dirt cheap too. This was like $15. So I was like, I don't care. Even though I own it on another console, I don't care. At least I can say I picked up a 3DO game at the con. There was plenty more I could have bought, but the prices on the 3DO stuff was ridiculous. So I was like, nope. There was a table there that was all Atari stuff. Like I'm not okay. There was two Atari tables. There was one in the arcade that was all Atari, like legit Atari. Like Atari had a presence there. And Tim Lapatino, who wrote the Art of Atari book, was working the table. So, like, they were selling the Atari 2600 pluses, the Atari 7800 pluses. They were selling all the CIB reprints that Atari's been making and the controllers and stuff. And I kept on saying to myself, I'm going to go back there and buy something. I never did. But there was another table that was actually in the vendor's hall, which was selling all of the Lynx, the Atari Lynx, and the Atari Jaguar stuff. And it was like the brand new games, like the homebrew stuff for both consoles. But the thing was, I went to the Lynx stuff because that's what I collect for. And I started to see some things. And there was a woman that was like working the front of the table. There's two other guys behind her, saw me pick one of these up. And she goes, I just want to let you know that this is all brand new stock. And I look at her, I'm like, what? She goes, there was a shipping container, or like not a shipping container, a storage unit that was found that in Australia that had nothing but Atari Lynx stuff in it, like boxes and boxes of sealed Atari Lynx old new stock. And she goes, and that's what this is. And I'm like, well, this one specific game is always super expensive. And she's like, it was a pack-in game. Like, it's the pack. I'll show you. It's the pack-in game that came with the Atari Lynx, and that was California Games. Didn't have a box when you got it. It was just the loose cartridge inside the Lynx box. So she goes, of course it was super expensive because there weren't a lot of copies of the in-box version floating around. She goes, now there are because of what we found. And I'm like, oh, okay. And this was like $50. And I'm like, it's better than paying the $350, $400 I saw before. So I will take it while the price is low. So this is like the first Atari Lynx game. And it is a port of, I think it's a Commodore 64 game where like the games are, it's like a bunch of mini games. It's like hacky sack, surfing, I think skateboarding or roller skating, something like that. I always played the surfing one. And if you've ever seen the commercial for the Lynx with Tobey Maguire sitting on the toilet while at school playing his Lynx, he's always playing the surfing game. The hacky sack one's pretty fun too, but had to get that while the price was down. I was not going to pass that up. And then I also found this, and it's still sealed, and it was the same price as that, and that is Battlezone 2000, which is one of the later games released for the Lynx that was kind of hard to find. Well, the thing is, I have had this in my collection for the last 7 years, I want to say, before COVID. This is just the box and the instruction manual. When that game store that I used to go to in Chicago called People Play Games had closed down and then reopened for one weekend like a year later to sell what stock they had left in the store when they closed, they sold this to me for like $1 because there was no game in it. Somebody had like actually ripped this open in the store and stole the game out of it but left everything behind. So they're like, well, it's just the box and the manual. I'm like, I can always find the cartridge at some other time. No, I could not. I could not find the cartridge loose to save my life because Lynx stuff is mostly all old new stock, so everything is still sealed. So there was no way in hell I was going to get just the cartridge. So when I found the complete in-box sealed one for a decent price, I was like, okay, I'll take that and I'll just use that for fodder for something, trading or whatever. So it's basically a port of the old old arcade game of a Battlezone where it was like wireframe tank combat on the Lynx. And the arcade conversions for the Lynx are always actually pretty good. So I was not going to pass that up. So now I have a box and a manual I can't do a goddamn thing with. Picked up a couple of PS1 games. I got this for like $3 because it's licensed, and I'm like, maybe I'll stream it at some point. I don't know. It's stupid, but it's going to suck, but whatever. And that's Peter Pan Return to Neverland. I didn't even realize this was a game on the PS1 until I saw it at that table. And it looks like the Hook video game for the Super Nintendo and the Genesis, just with better graphics and actually some animated cutscenes from the movie. So who knows? It could be decent. It could suck ass completely. I don't know. And then I also picked up Galaga. This is from when Atari was making like remakes, like really extreme remakes of their old arcade games. Oh no, this is Namco. I'm thinking like Asteroids. Well, they did that. They did Missile Command and Asteroids and Tempest and all that. Yeah, this is like one of those extreme remakes of an old arcade game. But Namco, I guess, decided to copy Atari. So we have a 3D Galaga game. That was like $10. One of my goals always is to find some kind of a random PSP game that I've never seen before. Whenever I go to a con, the last couple of cons I've been to, it hasn't happened. Not a lot. I remember at Mo Game Con, there was not a whole lot of PSP stuff around, so I didn't get anything there. I found one at Midwest Gaming Classic last year, but it wasn't some random thing. It was a game that I actually owned when I had a PSP back in the mid 2000s. So it wasn't some random thing. But this year I did find one, and that is Warriors of the Lost Empire. And it looks like it's an RPG. No, it's a hack and slash. It's a hack and slash fantasy game. And this is still sealed, completely sealed. So happy to find something I can add to the PSP collection. Let's see. Ended up finding something to add to the Psygnosis collection. You know, years and years ago, like 8 years ago, I started that whole Psygnosis quest thing on my channel, where I was like, I'm going to get every Psygnosis game ever released for a home console. It didn't happen. But when I find something, I usually tend to add it to the collection if it's cheap. So I found another copy of Lemmings, but this time for the Super Nintendo. I have it for, I have it for the Game Gear. I have it for the Master System. I have it for the Genesis. I have it for the 3DO. I have it for the PlayStation. I still need to get it on the Game Boy. I still need to get it on the NES. I think that's it. Is it available on the Atari 2600? I don't know. But yeah, it's platform puzzler. If you know, you know. It's hard to explain. But it's complete, so wasn't going to pass that up. I found some Game Boy stuff. Got to add to the Mortal Kombat collection, trying to get all the Mortal Kombat console games. So, ended up getting a copy of Mortal Kombat 3 on the Game Boy. And I'm not excited about this because, number one, like I was saying with the Master System version of Streets of Rage, I'm surprised they did not cut at least one character out of the roster for you to be able to play as. When it comes to Mortal Kombat 3, it had the biggest roster out of any Mortal Kombat game we have so far. And when you look at the back, there's what? 6, 7, 8 characters and maybe one hidden one, so maybe 9 total. 8 selectable fighters, including 6 new characters and 1 fighter hidden within the game. Watch out for this dude. I can't believe that's actually on the box. So, like, you're missing pretty much half the roster. And, you know, these games, when it comes to the controls, are completely simplified. You know, you've got just 2 buttons on the Game Boy. So, and you got 6 buttons now for Mortal Kombat 3 now that you have the run button added on. I'm not looking forward to playing this at all, but I had to have it for the Mortal Kombat collection, and it is in great shape. The guy actually, when I asked to look at it at the table, actually was like proud to show it to me. He's like, this thing looks amazing, and he was right. And then I found this supposed turd at a table on Sunday, but it's another Mortal Kombat game I have to have. And I hear nothing but bad things about it. And that is Mortal Kombat Advance, or MKA, Mortal Kombat Ass. This is like Mortal Kombat Trilogy, I guess, on the Game Boy Advance. And from what I understand, even though it has a pretty decent roster, the controls on this are shit. It is laggy as all hell. And the frame rate is garbage. Garbage. There's an R in garbage. So I'm not looking forward to this either. But had to get it for the Mortal Kombat collection. But one of the 2 specific things I was looking for at the con, I did not find the other one. I never even saw a copy of it at the con. So on Sunday, since I didn't see it, and I basically, at least I thought I did a complete 2 laps of the vendor's hall. I never saw it. I gave up on it, but I did see this on Saturday. And I went back on Sunday to get it. And it's the same guy that I bought BC Racers and not Primal, Brutal for the 32X from last year at Mo Game Con. This guy does not like to budge unless he's trying to get rid of stuff. And he's kind of a dick, honestly. You talk to him, and he's very, like, off the bat combative. Like, he is, like, really rude. So I was like, on Sunday, I'll go and talk to him and try to get a discount on this game if I can. So I'm like, hey, can I take a look at that? And he looks at me and goes, are you serious? And I don't know if he's trying to act like a New York tough guy or whatever. He's like, are you serious? And I'm like, well, I'm asking about it, aren't I? And he goes, I'll only take it out of the case if you're serious. I'm like, yeah, I'm serious. And he's like, okay. So he takes it out, and he had it in a protector, like a plastic protector, and I could see that it's still kind of like got cellophane on it. And he goes, I don't want to damage the cellophane, so I don't want to even take it out of the protector unless you're serious. I'm like, dude, I'm I want to buy this fucking. I look at him. I'm like, right in the eye. I'm like, this is the only copy of this game I've seen this whole convention, so I'm serious. And he goes, okay, but if you don't buy it, I'm like, what are you gonna do? Like jump over the table and punch me in the face or something? I'm like, what? So like he takes it out, and he shows it to me. He goes, this thing is like brand new. Like nobody looks like they've ever touched it. And I'm like, okay, whatever. I'm like, are you willing to come down on the price a little bit? And he just looks at me, and I was just like, I'm not even gonna ask. But since this is the only copy of this game I've seen, and it technically was cheaper than I've seen it on eBay, I was like, okay, I'll put up with it. And that is Operation C on the Game Boy, which is the Contra game, original Contra game that was released on the Game Boy. Yes, I do have this on the Contra collection on the PS4 or PS5 or whatever it is I have it for. I've been wanting this back in my collection forever because I had this back in the day when I had my original Game Boy. So, like, one of my goals, get all those games you had when you were a kid. I actually got this by accident. I bought, I think it was the Star Trek 25th anniversary game for the Game Boy on eBay. And this, like a copy of this showed up instead. And I was like, this is like $100 more expensive than the game I bought. I'm keeping this. So I had it in my collection for like a week. And the guy goes, did you get it? The guy ended up messaging me on eBay. Did you get a copy of Operation C instead of Star Trek? And I'm like, did I? And he's like, well, the person that I shipped the copy of Operation C to is saying that they got a copy of Star Trek 25th anniversary. So I think he goes, I think I got your packages mixed up. And I'm like, well, I'm out of town on vacation and my brother's getting my mail so I can have him check to see if he did get it, but I don't think it's been opened yet. And he's just like, okay, whatever. Just let me know if you got it. So then I like later on that day, I was like, yeah, I got it. My brother found it. And he's like, can you ship it back to me or ship it to this guy? And I'll have him ship you the Star Trek game. I was like, damn it. So I did. I shipped it back and I got my Star Trek 25th anniversary. But I needed this back in my collection super bad. It's a really fun Contra game. It's kind of slow, kind of like Castlevania Adventure is a little bit slower than your standard game on the NES, but it's still super fun. What else is there? I picked up a Super Famicom game. I usually pick up something if I find something interesting. Super Famicom. Now that I can actually play them, and I hope there is a translation patch out there for this. But it is 3x3 Eyes, which is an anime that I used to watch in the early 90s. It was one of the earliest animes I ever saw. Back in the day, when anime first started popping up in, like, I want to say like 93-ish, Fist of the North Star, Ranma 1/2, Silent Mobius, The Guyver, 3x3 Eyes, The Professional, which is the Gogol 13 movie, Akira, obviously. But there was like this like group of anime movies and shows that I used to like watch over and over again. And 3x3 Eyes was one of them. I even had like a little like pre-meme for it. Me and my buddy Charlie, who shows up in the chat sometimes as Epic Die Studios, we used to watch the 3x3 Eyes all the time, over and over again. And one time we were watching it, and the two main characters, so there's this kid and this girl that he has befriended who is like a demon who has like a third eye that opens up in her forehead, which is where the 3x3 Eyes comes from. And they're looking for this like statue or whatever that she needs. And it's called like the Ningen Nozo, I think is what it was called. So they're like walking through this temple, and you hear her say, as it's like a real high aerial shot looking down at them as they're walking through this temple. And she goes, I hear the Ningen Nozo. It's talking to me. And I go, hey, baby, give me a donut. And my buddy Charlie thought it was the funniest thing ever. And that became like a little saying between the two of us all the time. Hey, baby, give me a donut. So I do believe this is an RPG based on 3x3 Eyes. And I definitely will need to find a translation patch, which I hope is out there. But it was not super expensive. And being a fan of the anime, I felt I needed to get it. I did finally. So every year at the convention, at least since 2020, they've started doing like these exclusive games that you can buy at the official Midwest Gaming Classic store that are like, there's a special edition made specifically for them to sell. Sometimes they're pre-existing games. Sometimes they're homebrews that were made specifically to sell at the Midwest Gaming Classic. This year it was mostly stuff that has been available previously, but it's in this new edition that's branded with Midwest Gaming Classic all over it. Well, this was the first year where I actually took getting some of those seriously. Normally they look like really kind of crappy homebrews. And I'm just like, yeah, I don't think I need to own that. Well, this year there was one that I think it was available through Pico Interactive, Piko, that I wanted to get, but I just kept on putting off. And I think it's a game that came from China for the Sega Genesis. And I finally picked it up this year because they had this special edition. And it's this Legend of Wukong, which is is this the beat 'em up? No, this is not the one from China. This is the RPG, I do believe. Yeah, I think this is the RPG. Yeah, this is the RPG. The one I'm thinking of is a beat 'em up, and it has a similar name to Wukong. But yeah, I picked this up, and the thing that got me about the con, outside of the fact that it was 50% crafts and 50% games this year, which kind of annoyed me, the people that were running that official table for the Midwest Gaming Classic were kind of dopey and didn't even know what they were doing. So like they had this big chart up of all the games, the exclusive games they had available that are supposed to be that they were selling at their booth. And I go there and I'm like, hey, can I get that Legend of Wukong game? And the woman that was running it was just kind of like, I don't know where that is. And I'm like, you're working here. You'd think you would. So she goes and asks someone else. And the guy's like, oh, I don't know where they are. I'm like, how do you not know this? It took 3 people to find a copy of this freaking game. But it is complete. It comes with the cartridge and the manual. Oh, I can't talk. I'm getting so tired, guys. So I was super thrilled to get this. But this actually came with extras. I got a pin of like some little pig character. Kind of looks like a Big Bad Wolf, the 3 little pigs. One of, I do believe, the main character casting some kind of a spell. One of another lead character, female character, like with a sword. And this Midwest Gaming Classic Legend of Wukong coin to like commemorate the fact that I bought it, which I thought was kind of strange. And the first night, so Friday night, when we went and picked up our badges, like at 7, 8 o'clock at night, the store was already open because it's outside the vendor's hall. It's like in the hallway where the escalators are. So you were able to walk through and buy some shirts and some posters and stuff, but not the games yet. Because I had asked about the games, and they're like, we're not selling those until tomorrow. I was like, okay, fine. But like we were looking at the shirts. It was me, Rocket Sauce, Atomic Bomb, and Dan from Midwest Media Show. And we're all looking at the T-shirts, and I'm like, I want to get at least one T-shirt this year. I hadn't bought T-shirts from the con for years. Last one I bought was probably in 2018, and I refused to buy another one after that because it fell apart in the wash after wearing it twice. So I was like, this shit is cheap, but I found one that I thought was really kind of cool looking. So I picked up this I Want My MGC T-shirt, which I thought was really funny. And I wore this when I went to a friend's house the following weekend. And they were kind of like, that's kind of funny. There was also a guy walking around handing out buttons, like random buttons. He had a bag. He's like, hey, you guys want a button? And me and Rocket Sauce picked one out. This is the one I picked. It's like a skull with a NES controller in his eyes. And then the last games that I bought were, I'll go with oldest first. Picked this up at the Gaming Together booth, which is like the other local store that's by Rocket Sauce, but it was not open the weekend that I was there because they had basically taken their entire inventory from their store and brought it to the Midwest Gaming Classic, and they actually had their own room. I think it was the first floor. Specifically, that was their store, which was kind of rad. And I brought Dan from Midwest Media Show there on Sunday, and we were wandering around there for like a good half an hour, and I found a couple of games. So I picked up Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire on the PS2 because licensed games. And the funny thing is, I originally did have this when I first got back into collecting back in 2013 on the PS2. I found this at like Half Price Books, and I was like, sweet. And then I found out that they were also available on the Xbox, and I always prefer to get my multiplats on the Xbox, so I sold it to get the Xbox version. I have never seen the Xbox version anywhere. And now that I can't even play my frickin' Xbox games because my 360 and my original Xbox have kind of like stopped working, I was like, I guess I'm buying it again so I can play it, but I'll get it on the PS2 because my PS2 works. So there's that. And it's like a 3D platformer kind of thing. You got some broom stuff, got some wand fighting. Also picked up the Amazing Spider-Man on the PS3, which I originally had. The cool thing is this does have PlayStation Move compatibility. I did have this on the Wii U, but when I got all of those Final Fantasy Legend games on the Game Boy, I sold a bunch of Wii U games to Video Games Then and Now in order to get those. And one of them was Amazing Spider-Man 1 and Part 2 on the Wii U. It turned out they're worth a lot of money. The reason I got rid of them was because everybody had been telling me, especially Rocket Sauce and Jason of Corpse Flood Gaming, that they run absolutely crappy on the Wii U. Why would you even want them for that console? The frame rate is terrible. And I was just kind of like, well, I kind of wanted them for the collection on the Wii U, but if they're not going to play right, then maybe I should get rid of them and get them for other consoles. So I found this at that Gaming Together booth. So that's good that I have that off the list of things I need to repurchase. And then I also found a brand new PS5 game that looked kind of interesting. And it's like a weird take on an RPG. And it's called Monarch. And this is the deluxe edition. And I got this for like $25. It says, follow your ego, control the madness. And it just looked like a really interesting take on like a RPG. It looks like an RPG mixed with like a visual novel. So I was like, okay, fine. And that's for the games, but that doesn't mean that's the only thing I did there. Normally, there's Mortal Kombat actors there. Yeah, I definitely want to get a t-shirt next year. Yeah, the t-shirt selection, they had, I want to say a good like 8 designs this year. And it was like between 3 of them for me, and I think Dan was even looking at a couple of them too. And then like the both of us at the same time were kind of like, you know what? I like that. I want my MGC shirt the best. So Dan was like, maybe I'll get one this, tomorrow or Sunday. Like, I'll get one right now while they still have them in my size, because who knows what's going to happen once all the people show up on Saturday. So I picked it up Friday night. But like normally, there's like celebs there. This year, the Devil May Cry people were there. There was a bunch. There's 4 voice actors from Devil May Cry there, and I'm not a big Devil May Cry person, so it didn't really bother me. But I did go to their panel because it was nice to get off the floor and not spend money for a while, and I wanted to rest my legs. So I went to their panel with Rocket Sauce and Atomic Bomb because they're big fans of the franchise. So I watched their panel. It was pretty cool. They seemed like a group of really fun people. And then they had a table to sign stuff with, or where they could do signings at the front of the vendors hall. But they were like, if you want to talk to us, like I guess they had there's like a autograph area that they were talking about at the panel. But like we were there this morning before the panel. Afterwards, we have a table in the vendors hall. If you want to like interact with us, that's where you should go if you want to interact with us. And Rocket Sauce and Atomic Bomb got in line for them. They were in line for, I want to say, a good 3 hours. I kept on like walking up to them and saying like, you get up there yet? No. Okay. And I walked away. I would stop to talk to them for a little bit and then walk away and start looking at stuff again. Because of the whole interaction thing, someone would go up to them and stand there for a half an hour and talk. So I was like, that was a bad idea on your part, guys. Like I would have, in order to move this, but Ryan, Rocket Sauce and Atomic Bomb sounded like they made a lot of friends in line with like cosplayers and stuff. So like they like a little line friend group there, which is kind of cool. That was a cool panel. Ruben, the voice of Dante, was really down to earth guy. If I was into the games, I probably would have been like, yeah, give me my autographs. There were there were Mortal Kombat people there this year, but none that I wanted to talk to. The only person from Part 2 that was there, for Mortal Kombat 2 that was there, was Richard DeVizio, who played Kano and Baraka, but I already have his autograph. I did not need his. But there was also an actress from Mortal Kombat 3 and Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3. It was the actress who played Sindel. And not being a fan of Mortal Kombat 3, I was like, I do not give a shit. So I was like, you can do your thing, girl. I'm not getting your autograph. And then the guy from that's the voice actor from NBA Jam, who does the announcer's voice. The Boom Shakalaka guy, he was there again. And while I took a break watching like their concert, they have like a concert area in the hallway right outside the vendors hall. And I sat down to take a little break, and I watched a guy play who was playing, like he had like a DAT player or whatever they call it playing techno music, but he was playing a trombone. It was the weirdest goddamn thing, but people seemed to be into it because there was a couple of people that were dancing around in the aisles and stuff, and I was like, "You do you, bro." But like when that ended, and the other band that was getting ready to set up was like some kind of a video game cover band that played like metal covers of video game music. The guy that does the voice for the announcer in NBA Jam and Richard DeVizio got up on stage because I guess the NBA Jam guy plays the drums. So he started playing this drums kit from the band that was setting up, and Richard DeVizio was like his little personal hype man. It was like filming him with his phone and stuff, and I took a picture of them. The dude in the Donkey Kong outfit challenging people to Smash Bros. I did not see that. That would have been funny as hell, though, because I would have gotten a picture of that. But there were some people there whose autographs I did go after. They were developers, and they had a panel. I missed it. I don't remember what I was doing. I missed it. But I just so happened to be walking back into the vendor's hall after that little rest that I had with the concert. I walked back in, and their table was right where you walk into, like, I think the center doors. Like, there was like a bunch of doors in a row. It was like the center ones. Their table was right there when you walk into the left. And I was like, oh, hey, let's get these autographs, because that's why I brought these things from home for them to sign. So the people that were there that I wanted to meet were Dan Kitchen and Gary Kitchen, who used to work for Activision back in the Atari 2600 day, and they developed games for the NES, the Super Nintendo, the Game Boy, and PC stuff, and also David Crane, who developed Pitfall on the Atari 2600 and Pitfall 2, and Boy and His Blob on the NES, and like he's like considered like one of the pioneers of platformers kind of thing, right? So I'm like, I want to get these guys autographs. Dan Kitchen and Gary Kitchen were there like in 2018, and I brought copies of some of my Atari games for them to sign, but I never got to see them. I was like, I'm not missing out this year. So I was lucky that I walked in there right when I did, because they were just getting seated down at their booth, and I was like, yes. Turns out that their autographs were completely 100% free. So I didn't have to pay a damn thing, which meant to me more money for games. So I walk up to David Crane first, and he seemed like a really nice guy, but I was so freaking tired from walking around. I did not have much energy to talk. I was like, I hadn't had anything to eat that day yet. I had half of a donut and a bottle of water, and that was all I had. So I was like, I was dehydrated, I was hungry, I was tired. I was just kind of like, get these autographs and get the fuck out of here. So I walk up to David Crane, and I'm like, can I get you to sign some stuff for me? He's like, of course. So I bring out my copy of Pitfall, and he signed it. And he saw it, and I figured this would be the most common thing he would expect to get signed. Like, this is what he's known for, is Pitfall and Pitfall 2. If I really wanted to, I could have brought 13 different games for him to sign that I own that he worked on at some point. But I was like, I got to reel it in, because I don't want to have to carry these things around with me too. And I'm pretty sure he doesn't want to sign 13 goddamn things. There's other people that probably want his autograph too. So I brought my copy of Pitfall, and he signed it, and he was like, oh, okay, cool. Here you go. And then I whipped out my copy of A Boy and His Blob, and he signed it also. He's right here. Well, I also found out that Gary Kitchen worked on, Dan Kitchen. No, it's Gary Kitchen worked on A Boy and His Blob. So I got David Crane to sign these two things, and then I slide on over to Dan and Gary Kitchen. Gary was outside of the booth. He was actually like talking to people that were walking by. Dan was, or is it the other way around? No, Gary was the one that was behind the booth, that was behind the table. Dan was the one that was out like networking. And I was like, okay, cool. So I go to Gary, and I'm like, hey, can I get you to sign my copy of Boy and His Blob? And he's like, yeah, sure. And he's like, yeah. And he goes, oh, David already signed it? Okay, good. So he signs it. And then I break out this. Turns out that Dan and Gary Kitchen worked on The Simpsons versus the Space Mutants, or Bart versus the Space Mutants. So they signed this, and then for some reason, I give it to Gary, and Gary goes, hey, Dave, did you sign this one too? Or did you sign this one? And he looks at it, he goes, no one's asked me to sign that game yet. So he hands it over to David Crane, and David Crane signs it. And I'm like, I just kind of like leaned over, and I go, I didn't realize that David Crane worked on it. They're like, yeah, he was like one of the lead programmers. I'm like, shit, I feel like an asshole that I didn't even realize. Like one of the most popular games on the NES was one that he worked on. I was like, oh shit, except I did know this one he worked on because his name's on the freaking box. So got all 3 of them to sign this, which was rad. And then I whipped this one out for Dan specifically because I looked up before I went to the con. I looked up what games each person had worked on and if I had any of them in my collection. Well, because I'm a Star Trek fan, I had to get Dan to sign it. So he signed my copy of Star Trek The Next Generation on the Game Boy. When I pulled this one out, he looks at it, he goes, haha, that was fun to program for. And I was like this close to saying, like, yeah, too bad it's not too fun to play. But yeah, I don't think anybody had asked him to sign a copy of this, like, ever, because he was really surprised when I pulled it out. He just started laughing, and he was just like, oh, yeah, this is awesome. Yeah. I talked to him for, like, about a minute, and Gary was, like, networking, like I said, behind. He was basically standing behind me the whole time. And I was just kind of like, yeah, okay, so thanks, guys. And they were just kind of like, oh, you don't, like, they were, like, legit wanting to just chat with people. But I was like, I got money to spend, and I'm tired as hell, and my social battery is pretty much empty right now. So, bye. So, like, they're like, oh, I guess you don't want to talk. Okay, bye. And that was pretty much it. But here's the thing. It was the longest time I've ever spent at the convention on a Saturday because we had a dinner planned at this place after the con called Don's TV and Repair, which is kind of like that safe house place we went to in 2021. But it didn't suck like the safe house did. And I reserved a room, so we weren't going to get turned away like we were last year. And there was plenty of room in there. We got like the Star Wars room. But the thing was, normally I plan the dinners at 7:00. Well, the reservations they had available like started at 9 p.m. So I'm like, well, at least we can stay at the convention till closing today until 8 because they closed at 8 and then dinner was at 9. We actually got kicked out of the con. Me and Ryan, Rocket Sauce, we're walking around still looking at stuff at 8:00. And then some guy came like running down the aisles that worked for, I guess, Dan Lucen, who runs the con. We are now closed. Get out, kind of thing. And we're like, okay. So we just kind of like casually walked out, still looking at things as we're on the way out. Hopefully we can buy something. Didn't see anything. But like, because of the dinner being so late, we're actually able to spend the entire time at the con. So I was there from like when they opened until when they closed on Saturday, which was great. It was fun. Ended up going to Tiger Chainsaw's little like mini, like he has a little panel area in the back of the vendors hall, where like some of the YouTube celebs that were there were chatting and talking. The Game Beaters had another panel, which was really fun. They're doing the whole homebrew thing again. And I think it was J Chip texted me on Facebook, and he's like, "Hey, the Game Beaters panel starting. If you want to come and watch it." I was like, "Yeah, sure." So I walked back there, and it was Dan B on the panel. Evil Dan was sitting in the audience, but Dick Boots was dressed up like Phil Donahue from the '80s, and he was like working the crowd and like asking questions to the people on the panel. It was a bunch of the NES homebrew people, which is pretty fun. And like I was looking in the audience where I was sitting next to like J Chip, and it was Chum Nasty was there, Freak of Four was there, Linda the Gamer Gal was there, Slayer was there. And I was like, oh, I didn't recognize Slayer. I knew Chum Nasty because I met him a couple times at the cons. First time I'd ever met Linda the Gamer Gal. Freak of Four I've met a few times at the cons. I can't remember, was there anyone else that I missed? I think that was it. But it was really cool to see everybody there. And then I ended up watching another panel happen later on, like towards the end of the day, just so I can get off my feet. And I think J-Chip was there for that too. But yeah, that was pretty much. And then we went to the dinner at the Don's TV and Repair, which was a lot of fun. I drank 2/3 of a crock pot full of alcohol. And the smash burgers we had were pretty good. It was a lot of fun. If we go back to like have dinner again at the con next year, I would definitely go back to Don's TV and Repair. It was a lot of fun. And a really nice place too. And the food was good. But here's the thing about Sunday. So Sunday, I had already worked out what I wanted to buy at the con. So I was like, I'm going to go there with Ryan in the morning. I'm going to go there. I'm going to buy what I know I want to get. And then I'm out of here. And I'm not kidding, guys. I met up with Dan from Midwest Media Show. Like I randomly ran into him again. He went out to dinner with us on Friday night. I think I ran into him once on Saturday, but I ran into him basically right when I walked in on Sunday, and I showed him a couple of rooms and we hung out a little bit. I was there for, I want to say, a grand total of an hour on Sunday. I basically ran into Dan. I showed him that gaming together room on the first floor, looked at a couple of things in the vendor's hall, and then he was like, okay, I'm going to go and do my own thing now. I'm like, go ahead. I'll talk to you later. And then I went and bought exactly everything that I was looking for, found that Radiant Silver Gun, avoided getting Albert Odyssey, bought everything I found on Saturday that I wanted to buy on Sunday, bought it and bounced. I was there for a grand total of an hour. I was home by freaking 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So normally that milkshake was thick as hell. Ryan, I think Ryan, you got that too, didn't you? I know Ryan got one. Did Ryan get one? Or was it just you that got one? I could have sworn Ryan got one. Whatever. But yeah, it was a great con. I mean, it's always fun to run into everybody. Didn't really run. I ran into Mega Dan also. I walked past Gaming Off the Grid. They were talking to a bunch of people in that big aisle where they have the cars. They were busy. And I was just like, okay, whatever. I'll run into them later, I'm sure. And I just walked past them and never saw them again. But yeah, I talked to Megadan for a little while. He was bummed that Captain Algebra wasn't there this year. I was talking about how I was bummed that, Manboy Cave and Captain Algebra weren't there. It'd be cool to hang out. But yeah, the con is cool. Like I said, 50% crafts and 50% games was kind of a bummer. I wish there was more games, but what was there was freaking awesome. But it's always a fun time. So I'm definitely going back next year for all 3 days again. So yeah. This is probably one of the longest streams I've done in a long time. Yeah, you and Ryan got the same one, but his had booze in. Okay, yeah, that was it. I remember he showed us the picture of the milkshake with the giant piece of cake on it. I was like, did he actually get it? Or did somebody else get it? And then, yeah, you both got it. You would have tried a burger there, but me and Slayer just had dinner in a Mexican restaurant before we went at Dom's, but those cheese curds were good. Yeah, those burgers were freaking delicious. They were messy, though, because it was legit butter burger. It had a butter pat on it. But yeah, thanks everybody for coming and hanging out with me. Chum Nasty, it was good to meet you or see you again at the con. Hopefully you'll be able to come to dinner with us next year. But yeah, I'll talk to you later. I'll be back tomorrow night with another Saturn stream. And according to the polls, it hasn't officially closed yet. You can still go and vote, I think, until maybe another hour on the poll on my Discord streaming stuff thread for the game I play tomorrow. But so far, the game that has the most votes is Mortal Kombat Trilogy. So that's probably what I'm going to be streaming tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Central. So hopefully I'll see some of you there too. So thanks again, everybody, for coming and hanging out with me. I really appreciate it. I will talk to you later. I'm going to go and put some ice cubes down my throat to freaking fix it because it is my throat is so goddamn dry right now. Have a good night, everybody.
Someone save him! Oh my god!
Oh yeah! Yeah!